line, screaming like a siren at night. Red and blue shouting, nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight. Matchsticks flicked in the dead of night. They sell fear, cheap package the lies, while the clock keeps ticking, empires on fire. Can't sit quiet while the world's on edge. Lines in the sand, standing on the ledge. No script, no leash, no polish, quiet. Just a voice in the dark and a spark to the wire. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. Headline. Everybody's selling truth like a brand. Buying opinions they don't understand. Talking in circles, screaming online. Keyboard courage, borrowed spines. Yeah, power plays dressed up as peace. Same old wolves with different teeth. But silence is loud when the house is burning. And the fuse is short, yeah, it's still learning. I don't dance for the left or the right. I stand in the heat, I stand in the fight. No strings, no chains, no manufactured choir. Just gasoline thoughts and an open lighter. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. The world's on tilt, pressure climbing. Truth don't whisper, it's perfect timing. You can't cancel the smoke, you can't stop flame. Say my name when it hits, say my name. Why? Say my name. Say my name. Fire don't ask permission. Fire don't need a side. Fire just shows up honest and exposes the lies. This is and I'll bring the fire. Truth is harder. Burn it down till what's real survives. No smoke, no mirrors, just heat and lies. And I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. American fire. Strike it. Let it speak.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome to the show, American Fire. We're here. My voice is about 80% back, so that's good. Not feeling the same pain of pushing forward anymore. Listen, guys, we're going to be straight today. I'm not wrong often, but when I am, I'm wrong. And, man, I did not see this Supreme Court case going the way it did today. Supreme Court has effectively condoned mail-in ballots coming in after Election Day and being counted after. This is a big loss. So we're going to break it down, what it means and how it affects us, but also why it's not the end of the world. But we're going to get into that. So big loss there, but there was some wins as well. We're going to cover that. Birthright citizenship might be tomorrow. Also, over the weekend, we had a massive speech from Trump about anti-communism, and he is definitely putting that on blast here going forward. We had major updates in Iran where we bombed them again after they were messing with the Strait of Hormuz. We have that going on, and then all kinds of updates on the justice front. Things are advancing, guys, whether most people aren't reporting it. Most people aren't paying attention to it, but we are having significant advances on the things we voted for. So we're going to cover that all today. It's going to be a good Monday. Going to leave no black pilling allowed. By the end of today, you will be feeling much better about where we're at, despite the losses we sometimes have to deal with. Because guess what, guys? We're dealing with an entrenched enemy that is panicking, that is desperate, and the further they get pushed back, the more they are going to get outright and wild and intense in their pushback because they know they're losing. They know they can't win this, but it doesn't mean they're going to try. They're not going to go quietly into that dark night, dear sir. So let's get into it. And let me say hey to everybody. Please hit that like and subscribe before we get started. And I'm going to call out everybody here in the Chizat. By the way, we have 7 days, 7 days counting today, until July 4th, the 250th anniversary of our nation birthday. I'm very excited. I am actually going to go up to DC to celebrate. Yes, I'm going to weather the crowds and the insane heat, and I'm going to be there with America on July 4th, taking my kids to experience history. So just a little house announcement for the week. Thursday, I will be driving to DC, which means I will be doing my live show on Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's 7 a.m. Eastern for you folks over in California and the West Coast. So early live show on Thursday. And then on Friday, I will not have a show. However, well, I won't be live, I should say. However, I will be having a special broadcast that I'm putting together for the 4th at noon. So you guys won't have, it's not like I won't give you guys anything on Friday. I just won't have a live show. So hope you guys can make your adjustments. Hope you can accept that as it is July 4th weekend. And I hope you guys all have a great weekend yourselves. Okay, let's get into it. We have over on Rumble, we got Lilith7, Pixel Snap, Chrissy Cats, Sheath777 holding it down over there with Don Julio and Bond Tip as well. Welcome, guys. Thanks for holding it down on Rumble. On YouTube, here we have Golden Code, Aiden Scotland, Rafe, Mario, Sebastian Chose, one of the many, Fart Detonator, Come Take 'em, Jay Tyrus, Mr. Anti-Totalitarian, say that 10 times fast. Brian Exon, Dan the Man Green, Shogun, Bobby Girl, Gen X Maga, Francis Riley, Doc No, Jesus Saves, Christina Smokehouse, Lisa Doxy, Rafe, Build Fire for Christ, Ah Dog, and so many more. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I wish I could shout out all you, but we'd be here all day. We'd be here all stinking day. Don't want to do that. Golden Code wants me to know that Matt Morse was not blackpilling. He just doomed over the communist wins. Fair enough. I didn't watch it, so I can't tell you. Sebastian. Oh, we'll talk about Iran. Don't worry, my friend. Don't worry about that. You definitely know we're going to talk about that. Jay Tyrus says, it's turning one of those situations where it almost looks impossible for DJT to overcome the villainous compromised traitors in our government to the point where divine intervention will be involved. Well, I mostly agree with you. I think divine intervention already been involved, and I think they have lots of ideas on what to say and do. Brian says the enemy always gets a say, but I believe Trump and his team have contingencies. We'll talk about that for sure. Dan, I'm sorry about your mental health, brother, but hang in there. Hope abounds, my friend. Hope abounds. Jen says, I had a long talk with God this morning. Not happy about SCOTUS, so we'll see what his plans are. I'll tell you what, there's always a way to make good out of the bad. So we will see how that goes. My voice is starting to come back. It is not all the way back, if you can tell. I still have the graininess to my voice, so I will not be doing impressions. Sorry, there will be no Alex Jones impressions today. I am healing. I'm feeling much better, but my voice is not all the way back yet. And forgive me, I do have a cough drop in my mouth with a lot of honey. Honey is good for the throat, and we've been getting there. Okay, you guys ready to get into it? Because there is so much to talk about today. Let's see here. Make sure I catch up with everybody before we go. What's up, Katie Cat? Bucko. Come take him. What's up, guys? You know, the other thing, we're not going to talk about it too much because it ultimately doesn't matter too much except for Trump. But they refused to overturn the E. Jean Carroll ruling on Trump, which was pretty lame. Pretty stupid, honestly. Oh, well. It is what it is. Excuse me as I finish off my cough drop so I can talk freely. While you guys wait on me, you can watch Sophie Point. I don't know if you guys have seen this meme going around. Sophie Cunningham is awesome. All right. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right. Woo. All right. Okay, here we go. Let's get into it. We got a number of decisions came down today from the Supreme Court. The biggest one, the one we are all looking forward to, the one we are all hopeful to, ended up to be one of the great disappointments in our modern day from our Supreme Court, which has been, since Trump got his 3 appointments back in his first term, the Supreme Court has been pretty much about 90 to 95% awesome. They have overturned Roe v. Wade. They overturned the Chevron doctrine. They have given a lot of power back to the states. They've curbed a lot of the insane liberal policies of the deep state. It has really suffered under this Supreme Court. But today they let us down, just like they let us down with tariffs. And we can all speculate why. But first of all, they upheld mail-in ballots. And this is one of the predictions I have gotten wrong because it was so obvious. But we'll talk about that in a minute. And I'll show you guys why, why I got it wrong and why they, today's ruling pretty much upset everybody who made predictions on this ruling, but we'll get to that in a minute. But first, here's a little breakdown from Fox News.
All right, guys, this is not a win for Republicans who were challenging this. Mississippi has a state law which allows ballots to be counted, mail-in ballots after Election Day. If they come in, they're postmarked and meet the state requirements, but it is a 5-4 loss for Republicans. And an interesting cobbling together of who wrote on this. Justice Barrett wrote the opinion. Justice Roberts joined her along with Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson. So those 5 stuck together on this. The dissent comes from Justice Alito. Thomas Gorsuch and Kavanaugh join him. And essentially what the majority said is that these federal statutes setting Election Day don't prescribe or they don't stand in conflict with states that want to say, okay, we have a procedure to count ballots after Election Day. Justice Alito, writing for the dissent, says today's decision is inconsistent with the terms of the Election Day statutes, contemporary election law principles, 2 centuries of historical practice, and the case law on the question presented. So if you're a state out there that counts ballots after Election Day based on your state law, that state law will stand. We wait on more opinions now, guys. More to come.
So, Shannon, that means, for example, in California, where it takes them forever to count ballots, this doesn't help that situation at all, right?
It does not, because basically they're deferring to the states on when they can count those ballots after Election Day. They say the federal statute may set Election Day, but these states that have allowed for procedures outside of that and the way that they collect and how and when they collect those ballots, those state laws are going to be good. Mississippi was the state here, but yes, this will apply to places like California as well.
Very interesting. Obviously not what we were expecting, but we will talk about that here in a minute. First of all, let's break down exactly what this case says. So this was Mississippi Secretary of State versus the RNC, which of course, unfortunately, was a red state that fought for this. But the majority opinion was 5-4, and it was Roberts and Barrett joined the 3 liberals, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson. They held that the federal Election Day statutes don't require ballots to be received by Election Day. They basically, well, here's the meaning. Here, let me get through this first. Meaning of election refers to the day the electorate makes its choice. This occurs when ballots are cast, not when they are physically received. I have so many questions here. We'll get to it. Federal law versus state law. Statute said the deadline for casting ballots. Receipt is left to state law. Support. They gave all these reasons. Electoral college sets a uniform day for voting. Receipt happens later. By the way, this just doesn't make sense because they also upheld early voting. And so if the day is for voting, receipt happens later, but then that would say you can't this makes no sense. This is an absolute abomination of a ruling. I mean, when it says right here, like Amy Coney in her opinion says, it refers to the day the electorate makes its choice. But if that's so, okay, then make the argument that the receipts come in later. Fine, make that argument. But therefore, you cannot make the argument that early voting is okay and mail-in voting ballots going out before is okay. There's a lot of flaws in this argument. It's the Supreme Court. There's nothing we can do about it, but it's very flawed, which tells you it's the tell, right? It's the tell that this was forced through on purpose. They don't actually have an argument for it. They just pushed it through, and they came up with some hodgepodge way of trying to make it make sense, which ultimately just doesn't work. It says they did not rule on early voting, which means this could still be open. It didn't decide whether voters can recall ballots after Election Day via mail and didn't address the broader scope of Congress's power. So here's a silver lining. Congress can still pass laws, which means the SAVE Act could still change this. Now, Alito came out very strong against this. Alito wrote the dissent with Kavanaugh, Thomas, and Gorsuch. Core holding in the dissent. Federal Election Day statutes require ballots to be received by Election Day. Mississippi's post-election receipt window is preempted. Majority's decision inconsistent with text, history, precedent, and sound policy. Some of the key arguments. Definition of election. While an election is the expression of electorate's choice, that choice is not authoritative until ballots are collected and received. Receipt is part of completing the election on Election Day. 2 centuries of historical practice show when the law sets an election on a particular day, ballots have traditionally been required to be received by that day, even during Civil War era absentee voting laws. I mean, again, there's nothing here for the majority to stand on except that they just wanted to let this happen. He said the majority misreads Foster versus Love. Older cases, such as Montana's Maddox decision, support requiring receipt by Election Day. This doesn't give states broad authority to set post-election receipt deadlines for regular ballots. The consequences, Alito calls these out. Majority ruling creates lamentable consequences, including increased risk of fraud, election results potentially flipping days after Election Day, and damage to public confidence, which we already have. The dissent's detailed forceful, accuses the majority of downplaying history, misapplying precedent, and failing to adequately consider practical risks. So Alito basically came out and laid down the law saying how egregious this is. This very much reminds me of the case that upheld the Obamacare. This very much reminds me of that, the big fight amongst the justices as well as the tariff ones. And that is the ones where Roberts joined, also with the gay marriage one, where Roberts swayed the court, picked off the swing votes or Republican votes like Barrett. But it's just insane. And the dissent proves it, just how much there is. Now, here's a little bit of a silver lining. This is a great breakdown on what this means. It says some people are clearly misunderstanding the ruling. It's not the ruling the GOP wanted. No, it's not going to fundamentally change the nation. Now, I want to emphasize that real quick, that this is not, this doesn't change anything, okay? It only keeps what we already have. So that's an important thing to consider, all right? Because we did win 2024. We've shown we can still win elections in this system if we overwhelm it. And that was with the Democrats in control, and we still pulled it off. So just remember, this leaves the status quo. It doesn't make things worse. It just doesn't improve them, which is still a disappointment. State of Missouri changed its law so mail-in ballots can be received up to 5 days after Election Day. Question was whether a state can do that, and they can. This ruling, had it gone the other way, would not have fundamentally changed too much. It would have been nice, but it's not the end of days. Key thing we're seeing is people are assuming California would shift massively to the right, and this says false. California won't be too affected by this ruling. So when you watch election results in California, you see days and days of getting bluer as they count mail-in ballots, but most of those are received by Election Day. California just doesn't start counting until polls close. And that's partially true. There's obviously ballots coming in, but so I don't completely agree with this. But they're just talking about the actual election laws in these states. It says the biggest state that probably would be affected the most was Alaska. Alaska has a lot of mail-in ballots, and with how Alaska is, their ballots can arrive pretty late. This is not a good ruling, but it probably affects mostly about 3 states and about 4 races. I disagree with that. I think it's wider than that. However, their point stands that election laws in most states still require the receipt by election day. But this does open the door for them to change those laws, and that's a problem. Here's Trump's response. He says, in light of the tremendous loss in the Supreme Court today concerning voters' rights and the fact that people's votes are allowed to be counted long after election's over, it's more important than ever to pass the Save America Act, which is all voters must show photo ID, all voters must show proof, no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. There's no excuse for a politician or otherwise to be against the above 3 requirements. There's only one reason to oppose: cheating. House of Reps has approved this vital act 3 times. Senate seems unable to do so in a time where there's a powerful communist movement taking place in our country, one more dangerous than World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, September 11th. All Democrats and our 5 Republican Senate holdouts, Murkowski, Collins, Tillis, Cassidy, and Mitch McConnell, must vote to save our country. There can be no more excuses. Thank you for this attention to this matter. There's some interesting things here. Okay. And the thing I want to point out is that the House has passed this. Okay. So the House is clearly more MAGA controlled, but Trump is really hammering ever since last week's elections, the communist aspect. This is going to be a big deal moving to the midterms, big framing, big language, big attack vessel, the communist. And it also, if they have moves they can make about communism that's baked into our laws from the past, thanks to McCarthy and several others during the 50s, that is going to be very interesting how he uses that going forward. Again, I'm starting to think Trump knew this ruling was going to happen this way, and it's one of the reasons he's been hammering the Save America Act so much the last 2 weeks. I have a feeling Trump knew, regardless of whether I'm right or not. This doesn't seem like he's as shocked as he was when the tariff ruling came. Tim Pool writes, I expected this from liberal justices and maybe Roberts, but Barrett's arguments read as if she's just saying, let it all effing burn and F yourselves. You can see that nobody thinks there's any argument to be made here. Now, here's why so many of us thought they were actually going to rule and overturn mail-in ballots. This is during the briefings, which I listened to. And Seth Keshel writes this: what all 6 GOP-appointed justices said during their briefings, the question for us should be who got to Roberts and Barrett. Now, remember, Trump called out Roberts and Barrett in the tariff ruling, saying that we had Supreme Court justices who were foreign influenced. He said that after the tariff ruling. This is more evidence that is very possible, since they were definitely on the side of overturning it based on their arguments. Alito said we don't have election day anymore. We have election month or election months. Kavanaugh, if the apparent winner the morning after the election ends up losing due to late arriving ballots, charges of a rigged election could explode. Gorsuch, is there anything that would limit states from allowing receipt by election officials up until the day of the next Congress? Even Barrett was on this line of thinking. If you can still have ballots being received after Election Day, I think that violates the whole notion of Election Day. This woman just wrote the opinion that Election Day doesn't matter for receipt of ballots. And yet this is what she said during the hearing. She definitely changed. Between the hearing and the ruling. Thomas, statute requires receipt by Election Day, which he all wrote, but then Roberts even said it. If Election Day is voting and taking, then it has to be that day. Wow. That's pretty nuts. Okay. That they were so and again, Keshel's writing this. This is why I thought they would definitely overrule it, because it's so obvious. But I've told you guys before, the way I believe these guys act, Roberts, Barrett, whoever in the past, Souter, is that they do a bunch of good rulings that matter, but maybe not as much. But they selectively choose the ones to betray us. And that's why they lull you in. They earn their confirmations. I mean, this is the exact same court that overturned Roe v. Wade and the Chevron doctrine and has given us other wins. Okay, exact same court. But then they've knocked down the tariffs. They just knocked down mail-in ballots. So they're probably going to uphold birthright citizenship tomorrow. So they screw us at times too. And it's a pick and choose thing, because if they were always against us, then Trump would probably be much more likely to investigate them, or we'd be much more selective in our judicial picks. Now, somebody brought up to me this morning saying how Trump really screwed up with Amy Coney Barrett. And you can take that line of thinking, absolutely. Or you can also recognize that Barrett got through after the 2020 election, in which the deep state was pushing Trump out. The establishment had taken back control through rigging that election. Trump had very little power when he got Barrett in. And so what I think he did is he rushed through whoever he could get through that would be even Republican light, conservative light, which was still better than getting a full-on liberal. And again, Roe v. Wade doesn't get overturned without Barrett. We don't get Chevron doctrine overturned. Like, we have gotten a lot of wins with Barrett. So again, she's a disappointment. She screwed us over. And I think there's issues for sure. But I also think she was the best he could have done in that situation. And you guys can disagree with me if you want. I don't care. Now, Trump has been going wild on Truth Social this morning. And, look at some of the things he's been posting about these justices. Let's see here. Oh, where was it? Oh, shoot. Looks like he took him down. I think somebody told him. But he had, after his, right here. Oh, here it is. So, I'm sorry, this wasn't Trump posting it. This is the comments underneath his truth. Roberts and Barrett have both disclosed gifts from George Soros Foundation. Karen Levitt, quote, I think it's obvious they've been compromised. We had, people are just going off, but there was a couple other ones that were really interesting. Where was it? Roberts is the judicial supremacist founders warned us about. Man, the comments kept adding, and so I lost the ones that I wanted to show you guys. They must be way down here at this point now. Son of a gun. All right, well, that didn't work out the way I hoped. Sorry, guys. But the point is there's all kinds of questions about Roberts and Barrett. And obviously we know there's pictures of a man who looks just like Roberts with Epstein. Coney Barrett has all kinds of interesting ties. It's very, very suspect. Let me just put it that way. It's very suspect. And again, Trump called them out after the tariff deal. He called them out that they had, we had two justices who were controlled. And that, my friends, is a big problem. Now, Thomas Massey doesn't seem to think so, as he's calling out the SAVE Act, that saying it doesn't need to be passed.
I'll vote for the SAVE Act, but I think it's a distraction from our real problems. I think it's ironic that we control the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the White House, and we're yelling election fraud. I mean, we won all the damn elections. I'll vote for.
I thought Thomas Massey was awesome. Did you guys love Thomas Massey still? Who still loves Thomas Massey? I thought he was the principled guy. He doesn't see any problems with our elections because we won in 2024. So forget the SAVE Act. It doesn't matter. I mean, when you guys wonder who's on our side or not, this is all you need to see. So despite all this going on, guys, it's an issue. I mean, don't get me wrong. This sucks. We don't want this, but it's not the end of the world. And we did get some other wins today. Like this right here. So Matthew Culkin, he's a lawyer, reports, those disappointed with the 5-4 decision today on mail-in ballots received under state law after Election Day, there is some good news. And here's Harmeet Dillon. Very important case. RNC versus Mi Familia votes. Certified granted. The civil rights brief the importance of this case. Clean voter rolls are essential to election integrity and voter confidence. And so the Supreme Court has granted the request to remove non-citizens from voter rolls. Civil Rights and OSG asked SCOTUS to grant cert and resolve this once and for all, and Supreme Court has granted it. So now the DOJ has full go-ahead from the Supreme Court to purge voter rolls. So that's a big win. Because remember, with the mail-in ballots, they still have to be delivered. They still have to go to people who are certified as registered voters. You clean the voter rolls, you clean up a lot of their ability to get more ballots out there. You also have Trump with the USPS, the Postmaster General, saying we're not delivering to states that don't deliver their voter rolls. So mail-in ballots can still be controlled. They can only be cheated with if they're delivered. And the Trump administration is making sure that gets cleaned up. And the Supreme Court did give them the go-ahead to do that. So that is a win. Another big win is that they just granted more executive power to Trump in firing bureaucrats. He said, big win moments ago, the Supreme Court in the Slaughter case, confirming presidential power in our country to remove executive branch officers and agency appointees or reps under Article 2. This decision was long sought by the United States president, dating all the way back to the 30s. Such an honor to be sitting president who won this historic and unprecedented ruling, one of the most important ever given with respect to presidential powers. So now Trump has full authority to purge the deep state. He has full authority to clean out the bureaucracy. That is a massive win. Judges have been blocking his firings left and right. Now, the Supreme Court, interestingly enough, did block the firing of Lisa Cook, said that she cannot be fired until her case is determined. So as long as she's appealing and fighting back the allegations of her mortgage fraud for the Fed, they're protecting that she can stay there. The president can't just fire her at the Fed. It did give a little bit too much power to the Fed. That's a bad ruling we got today. But the good ruling is that the whole rest of the bureaucracy, all these agencies that are unelected bureaucrats that are appointed by the administrations, they all can be fired. And that is a massive win for the Trump administration, which means all that cleaning Bill Pulte's doing and so on and so forth is now fully upheld. And Trump writes again, he double writes on this one. It's such a big deal. Show the importance of the Slaughter case. 90 years of precedent has been completely and unequivocally overruled, greatly increasing presidential power at a time when it's most needed. Very interesting, he says, when it's most needed. What's he saying? Get out the communists, clear out the communists. And Trump saying, I've been waiting for this time. Last week, he gave us that. I've been waiting for the communists to reveal themselves, to make their move, and I've been prepared. And now he says this is the time when this is most needed, clearing out bureaucrats. It's a big deal, folks. So not all bad news, and this is why we cannot be blackpilling. No blackpilling allowed, because even though we lost a big case, it just left things as they were. The cases that there's other cases that have advanced what Trump can do, and things will change quickly. Now, things are continuing to change quickly as Mitch McConnell might be on his deathbed. Here's the latest on Mitch McConnell, who hasn't shown up in 15 days and is hospitalized.
Desiree Townsend here in Washington, D.C., outside of George Washington University Hospital, where Senator Mitch McConnell is reportedly being hospitalized. Now, this will mark the 15th day of his stay here at the hospital. Now, this comes on the heels after spending 8 days in the intensive care unit at the same hospital back in February, according to sources at the hospital. So each day that Senator Mitch McConnell remains hospitalized at the tender age of 84 increases a probability that he will not return to the Senate Senate. So the implications of this are critically important for Americans, as the Republicans have a very slim majority in the Senate of only 53, now 52 senators, well below the 60-vote threshold required to pass most.
Why is this a big deal? Well, if McConnell dies or has to step down from the Senate, well, then the Kentucky governor can appoint a new senator. And guess who he's most likely to appoint? The guy who has just won the primary, which means we could get a full-on MAGA senator replacing McConnell about 8 months early. That's a big win, which means the Senate gets more MAGA. And bye-bye, Mitchie. This is a big deal. Now, I don't want to get gruesome, wish for him to die or anything, but let's hope this means he's got to at least step down. So let's see where this leads, but it's a big deal. I mean, he's disappeared, and they're trying to cover it up because they do not want to lose that seat. They're already going to lose it in January because in November the guy's going to be a shoo-in. But they were supposed to have McConnell helping them hold stuff up until January. If McConnell gets replaced, all of a sudden we got only Murkowski and Collins until it's being the holdouts on most things. And then that means we got 50 votes plus J.D. Vance on any reconciliation and on any rule changes like getting rid of the filibuster. So that's a big deal. You don't need 60 votes to get rid of the filibuster. Now, DeSantis came out today, and he is calling out this civil war going on with the Democrats that started. It's been going on a while, but really ramped up last week. And this is another reason we should not be blackpilling, because the deep state, the entrenched Democrats, the establishment Democrats are in full freak out mode as the communists are taking over their party. And this is going to create so much tension. It's really going to hurt them in the midterms. DeSantis writes, leftists are gaining traction within the Democratic Party by embracing anti-Western third world ideologies. What makes this more absurd is it's happening while we're commemorating the 250th anniversary of the most successful revolution in human history. A revolution whose tenets are irreconcilable with such ideologies. And here is the headline from Wall Street Journal. Democrats are in a civil war. I told you guys, I mean, I was there first with maybe a couple other people, but we called it out. The civil war has started in the Democratic Party, and it's getting much worse. A party divided against itself cannot stand, folks. So despite the fact they got a big win today with this mail-in ballot ruling, they are eating their own. And this is wonderful news for us as Trump is consolidating the Republicans, unifying the Republicans through the MAGA base, which we've seen in the primaries. We saw as he called out the senators in the lunch last week. We saw as Newt Gingrich is calling out the establishment saying, get in line. All of it proves that Trump is getting the Republicans together while the Democrats are falling apart. And that's going to be a big help to us come the midterms. Part of this is Spencer Pratt's calling out Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener found out this week that even he's not crazy enough for the Democrats. This is the guy who's gotten all kinds of insane stuff passed in California, including legalizing some sexual acts with homosexual acts with children. Yeah, this guy's disgusting. But Spencer Pratt says, hey, Wiener guy, remember when you called me McBigot? How does it feel now? Frankenstein you created is coming for you. Every stupid communist learns this history from the hard way. Scott Wiener went to a trans march and got kicked out in California. They called him out and saying he's a genocidal supporting center-right shill. These are how insane the commies are in the Democratic Party. They are calling someone like Scott Wiener center-right. This is gonna destroy them, guys. Destroy them. The Democratic Party is just showing us who they are, and it's not looking good. Look at this.
Next time they say that James is trans, we're all trans.
This is in Texas. Again, it gets better for us the more they show us who they are. They've come out as communists. They're fighting amongst each other. And now in Texas, super red Texas, they're running a guy, and the party is doubling down on all this anti-God, anti-traditional morality campaigning, while also doubling down on the socialism. It's insane. How, like, you hear this and you think, oh, those people are crazy. What I hear is, yes, thank you. Keep telling us who you are, because this will lose you votes.
When they say James is a gay tofu eating vegan, we're all gay tofu eating vegans.
We're all gay tofu eating vegans. That's not going to go around Texas.
And when they say James is going to hell, we'll say we're all going to hell. But joke's on them. Next time they say...
Is it on them? Tallarico came out on the same thing and is calling his own voters. Well, just listen.
But the current political landscape is too small for Texas. The politics of this state is narrow-minded and short-sighted. But the
people in the state, the politics of the state, narrow-minded and short-sighted. That's not going to go over well, folks. Again, these people are nuts. Yes, they're dangerous if they get into power. But the problem is when you're this open, the odds of you getting into power are very, very low. And the proof is starting to come out in the pudding. Look at the latest. Major military strikes against Iran began, but now, June 27th, see, this is the tracking of independence. Remember, polls lie, but trends don't. And the trend of the polls is that this is independence reached their lowest with Trump during the Iran, and it's fully recovered. 43% now independents are back with Trump. Why? Well, he got Iran escalation down, oil prices going back down, and the Democrats are starting to show they're communists. Independents, even though most of them are left-leaning, do not want communism. This is good for us, guys. This is a very good thing. Pennsylvania this last week. Weekly voter registration update. Republicans gained almost 7,000 in a week in purple Pennsylvania. Overall lead for Democrats down to 70,000. Since December 24, right after the election, Republicans have gained 70,000 in voter registrations in Pennsylvania. We won 2024. We won it with mail-in ballots. We won it with early voting. We won it with the Democrats going all in to rig it, with them in power. And all the shift is still, we are trending rightward. So this is why I'm not blackpilling over the Supreme Court ruling. Trends are still in our direction. And then one of the most important trends happening right now for the midterms is that Trump's approval is going up, but it's especially strong with the base, and the base determines midterms. Here's Harry Enton, my favorite New York Jew.
Republicans love Donald Trump more than any president's own party supporters loved him at this particular point. Just take a look here. Okay, own party supporters, 21st century presidents, own party approval about at this point in the second term. Bush was at 77%. Obama was at 77%. Look at this. 86% of Republicans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing at this point. That is higher than either Obama or Bush had within their own party at this point. Trump's magic touch has not seemed to wear off yet when it comes to the Republican base.
And what kind of approval are we talking about here?
Okay, so we're talking about overall approval here. How about the strongly approved, not just like, but love. Okay, we're going to look at these same presidents again. Strong approval among your own party's base. What you see here is Trump is the only one who gets a majority at this point in their presidency. Obama was at 48%. Bush was at 47%. You see here Trump at 53%. Not as high as overall approval rating, but still getting a majority of the Republican base, at least in the average of polls, to say that they still really, really, really like him.
Okay.
And that's what matters for the midterms, guys. We show up, we win. I continue to say this. We show up, we win. with what Trump's doing, with the positioning he's at, with the Justice Department, with the fighting over voter rolls, what they're doing with the USPS. If we show up, we win the midterms. I'm unequivocal about that. I have no doubts about that whatsoever. My view on the midterms is things are continuing to get better for us. We still got to show up, especially if the SAVE Act isn't passed. That's going to allow the Dems to rig. But remember, that's going to be mostly in blue states. They have to win several swing districts to win the midterms. At this point, the Senate is pretty much assured to stay Republican. The House is the fight. And that's why every single one of us, especially if you're in a swing district, has got to show up and vote. We vote, we win. We have the numbers. We have the people. We have the president who's performing better within his own party than even Obama did with Democrats. That is strength, folks. It's not weakness, despite what the media wants us to think. The Mark Halperins want us to think. Trump is strong as ever, as any second-term president's been with his base. All we have to do is show up when we win. So don't black pill about today's Supreme Court. It sucks, but there's plenty of silver lining, and we still got this. Nothing can stop what's coming so long as we make sure it doesn't happen on our watch. All right. If you guys don't mind, hit that like and subscribe. We have way more to get into today, but let me take a minute, catch up with you guys in the chat. As always, guys, if you want to get my attention, please tag me so I can find it in the chat. If I'm not tagged, it's very difficult to find. Sometimes even if I'm tagged, I don't see it because the scrolling goes back so far. Sometimes it cuts it off. So if you want to support the channel and you got a great comment or question, you can always send a super chat. That's very much appreciated, as I am completely supported by my viewers. Except for the little bit I get from those little ads you watch from YouTube. I don't get much from that, though. So this is supported by the viewers. But please hit that like and subscribe if nothing else. I greatly appreciate it. Let's get in the chat real quick, and then we will go through it. Now, I did see somebody mention that Kentucky's governor is Beshear right now, who's a Democrat. I want to speak to that. I do not believe that the governor can appoint a senator that is not of the same party that was elected. I'd have to look at that. It might be state law. But what I mean by that is I don't believe the Democrat governor has the authority to appoint a Democrat where a Republican was elected. So, but I'm not sure on that. So we'd have to look at it. Worst case scenario, if Beshear can appoint a Democrat in place of McConnell, we really didn't lose much, and it'll be overturned in November. But best case scenario is we get a rhino to replace him. So I will double check on that law because I don't believe he could do that. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Let me go through here real quick. TTB says that they can't replace a senator. It has to be a special election. I don't know if that's true. I think governors can appoint senators. We've seen it happen many, many times. DeSantis did it in Florida when Rubio left. So, but it might be state law. It might be state law. You know, because I think it goes back to, it used to be the states legislatures elected senators, not the people, until we got a constitutional amendment to change that. So, OD Greenmaker sent a red card. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Is it possible the black pill, TJ Fusion asks, is it possible the black pill right are actually Trump's assets designed to weed out and shed light on Israeli infiltration happening for decades? I don't think so. I don't. I think that's, that's where we're getting into the, not just 5D chess. That's like 27D chess. I don't think that makes sense because they're not helping the base. They're not helping the elections at all. And I also think that this whole, how much Israel has infiltrated the U.S. is I think it's overblown. I think it's a distraction to get us, not that it's not an issue, because it has been, but I do think it's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is the actual deep state, is those people tied to City of London, the globalists, In the past, we've had Russians and Chinese, but which are much bigger, powerful nations, powerful systems than Israel is. And so I think a lot of and again, please don't hear me wrong. There is issues with Israel and how it's gotten into our government in some aspects, but it's nowhere near as big an issue as the City of London stuff. And I believe a lot of that is a distraction. Yeah, Motley Crue, but MTG was a representative. She was not a senator. You know what, guys? Let's just look it up right now. In fact, I'll go to Grok. Let's just be as brutal as possible, shall we? If Mitch McConnell dies, can their governor appoint a new senator? Let's see what it says. Usually, in most states, the governor can appoint a new senator, but again, state law. If it's a special election, that's great. Okay, so it does say Kentucky is one of 5 states where so special election, that's even better news. That means McConnell is definitely going to be replaced by the new guy, the MAGA guy. So there it is, guys. It's all gravy. It's going to work out. That's even better news. All right. So there's no way the Democrat will get in. No way at all. Okay. Anything else before we move on? Got so much more to get to. All right. Again, guys, listen, please hit the like, subscribe. If you want to, if you want to support the channel, you can join the membership. The link is in the description for a free month of Patreon. You get to get access to the Discord immediately, as well as members-only content, and which I should have some fun stuff next week for members, being that I'll be in DC for the 4th. I plan on doing some streams for that, live streams from DC. But anyways, if you want to get into that, click the Patreon link. You get a free month, a whole month to check that out and see if you like it. And then you can stay if you want to support the channel. Otherwise, you can always send a super chat if you want to get a question through or something like that. All right. Bashir stole the election. Kentucky's got some issues for sure, but I think it's waking up. And that's, let me turn my ringer down here. Sorry. That's a mistake. All right, we need to talk about Iran because Iran really ramped up this weekend in very interesting ways. So, talking about Iran. Now, last week, we had Iran struck a ship going through the Strait of Hormuz with a drone. And this was a big break of the ceasefire, the MOU. And that is... it gave the neocons a juicy steak to eat and say, we told you, you can't negotiate with Iran. Oh, yeah, this is egregious. This is crazy, but we were right. Trump's weak. And of course, the Democrats are all thrilled about this. This means oil prices are going to go up and all that stuff they want for the midterms. Well, Trump did exactly what he said he'd do. He struck back. As Trump came out and said, U.S. aircraft struck Iranian missile and drone storage locations, coastal radar sites for violating the ceasefire agreement. Again, it's very possible they will never learn. There may come a point when we are no longer able to be reasonable and will be forced to militarily complete the job we successfully started. If that happens, the Republic of Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran, will no longer exist. This was a big call out. This is just like when he said, we'll end their civilization a couple months ago. Everybody freaked out about. And we did. We lit them up over the weekend. Destroyed all kinds of military sites. And Iran, in all this, just, having a bad weekend. Here's some of the footage. Lit them up, man. But this is how you enforce it. You don't play games. You don't play games. You go after them. Iran only responds to strength. And, of course, after all this, they did respond. Very interestingly. They came out and said, Iranian state media says it now has no choice but to obtain an atomic bomb, to remove the military option for occupation and partitioning of Iran from the table. Iran absolutely must reach nuclear deterrence so current negotiations can be conducted from a correct position. Iran adds the acquisition is not only driven by negotiation leverage, but also by Trump's 2 recent nuclear threats against Iran, including his April warning that a whole civilization will die tonight and one big glow is coming out of Iran. It is also among the most direct nuclear weapons advocacy published on Iranian state media to date. Well, I thought they didn't have a nuclear program. I thought they didn't want nukes. Is that what they told us? Is that what we were told? Interesting. Tom Longo puts this out, but this was always their ploy. Act out on the world stage, terrorize everyone, lie through their teeth like the good little muzzies they are, go for the bomb to threaten the world because that's the only option they ever had. It was the ultimate grift. But the first rule of escalation is you never go nuclear. Once you do, you can't bargain down. So with this threat, the IRGC seals their fate. Obama did this with Iran's original SWIFT expulsion, nuclear option, financial markets, and set us on the path to today. It's become increasingly clear the move was the opening gambit in this game to purposefully drive the IRGC's revenue streams underground into the shadow banking system to hide the build-out by the centrifuges. This performative nonsense will now fail. No more nuclear blackmail. There's a British game. It's always their end game. This time will be their end. What did Trump just accomplish, in other words? He got them to admit it. He got them to admit they want the nukes. This is what we were all told. Joe Kent was out there saying, well, they never wanted nukes. It's against their religion. Except now we get the proof that that's exactly what they wanted. And yeah, like Tom says, Obama got them off the SWIFT expulsion, which means we couldn't track their payments anymore. Along with Uranium One, all of a sudden it looks even more so like Trump or like Obama set up Iran to get the nukes. And Trump has eradicated all that. What he did this weekend. And this is why you wonder sometimes if this isn't all kind of a controlled fight between Trump and Iran right now at this point. Maybe not in the beginning, but at this point. Because this gained nothing for Iran. They struck a ship, a Singapore ship, with a drone. We just knocked out a lot more of their defenses. And now they're coming out admitting they want nuclear? Guys, that is all in our favor because this only empowers our movement and only empowers Trump, what he's trying to do in destroying this City of London proxy. And it's funny because it's making idiots like this look even dumber. Here's some old Joe Kent posts. Why didn't they simply develop a nuclear weapon? Because the ability to enrich up to 65% without actually developing a nuclear weapon was their strategy. And while the IC consistently assessed Iran wasn't developing a nuclear weapon, except they just told us they wanted to. And Joe Kent here, I'm starting to think killing the Ayatollah who issued a fatwa against developing a nuclear weapon may have been a mistake. Wait, so you're saying that it was the Ayatollah was the only thing keeping him back from a nuclear weapon, Joe? This is so retarded. The grift these guys are playing is so ridiculous that it's just what we've been watching from Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Alex Jones having to backtrack their statements, having to say, oh, look like Trump is listening to us now, all this stuff because of peace. Joe Kent now having to make all these wild claims to dance around the fact that he was saying they didn't want this. And now they're outright saying they are. This is good for us, guys. This is the kind of thing that is exposure that shows us what they really want. Now, the truth is, coming from Iran itself, cracks are showing inside the regime. On Saturday, 63 out of 88 from their Assembly of Experts, the clerical body that selects the supreme leader, issued a public statement. They declared Trump and Netanyahu, blood that may be shed, called for their killing as a religious duty for a Muslim who can reach them, demanded full revenge for the blood of Khomeini, insisted Iran's nuclear file must be completely removed from negotiation and opposed reopening the strait. They repeatedly emphasized that following the leader's red lines is a religious obligation. The negotiating team has no right to cross them. They told Khomeini's loyal orcs to stay in the streets and guard the revolution's ideal. This was 63 out of 88 of their assembly making these wild statements. One day later, the Secretariat of the Assembly of Experts rushed out a statement saying declaration was against customary procedure, tried to downplay it. These are the same mullahs who, within days of Khomeini's elimination, quickly installed Mojtaba as supreme leader. Now they are clashing with a faction negotiating surrendering to U.S. It seems they got a warning and Secretariat was forced to do damage control. It looks like these hardliners finally realized they've been outmaneuvered. They thought installing Mojtaba would secure their power, but another cartel is now selling everything out in his name. Interesting. It looks like civil war happening in the ranks of Iran, which means their government is faltering. And it means their government could be overturned by the people maybe soon if they want to go for it. Now, who are these people? A group of mullahs elected in fake election in the previous round. Even Hassan Rouhani was disqualified and blocked from entering the inner power circle. The only real rival to Mojtaba was Ibrahim Raisi, former president, assembly member, but he was suddenly killed in a highly suspicious helicopter crash along with powerful foreign minister Hossein Amir, blah, blah, blah. Then came the puppets Masoud Pezeshkian and Araghchi, who are strongly pro-deal. These are the guys that are currently leading. Right after Khomeini was eliminated, these mullahs gathered, quickly announced they'd voted, and made Mojtaba the new leader. Now the situation is even more interesting. Almost no one has seen or heard from him directly. A rival cartel keeps him hidden for security reasons. It speaks, negotiates in his name. Interestingly, Zolgadar has a son-in-law as a deputy foreign minister. Very pro-deal. Deal with the U.S. Bottom line, one faction pre-planned everything. Eliminated rivals, shaped the assembly, and installed Mojtaba. Now that network's cutting a deal with the U.S. in Mojtaba's name. The others finally understood they've been sold out and the rug's pulled out from them. That's why they're screaming publicly. He's saying that the Trump administration has been working with these people, undermining the IRGC and the other crazies in the government for a while now, which means that Trump knows exactly what he's doing and who he's working with. It's very interesting. On the other side, negotiating fronts led by Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf, head of parliament, who's kept the parliament closed since the war to silence opposition. Now other mullahs are making noise because they know the parliament was shut precisely to suppress their protests against the deal. The pigs are turning on each other. Let them cook. This is coming from guys who have direct Iranian contacts. So when the media is selling you Iran's fallen apart, Trump's done terrible things, he's stupid, he doesn't know what he's doing, that's the exact opposite of what we're getting from the people on the floor in Iran. You cannot. It's just like last month when the internet came back on Iran, all these people came out saying, the people are actually pushing back. The IRGC is weakened. Don't listen to what you're seeing in the media. And then it was all went away again. Very interesting stuff. This tells me that the Trump administration knows exactly what they're doing. We're winning. And these strikes continue to weaken the IRGC and get them to be outspoken, prove the Trump administration was right, which is only going to help his polling and also his power in making these deals, while also the coalition on the inside is crumbling. How do we know this? Well, again, as soon as Trump launched, Iran has now requested a new meeting. This is the cycle we keep going through. But again, I think there's a reason for this. I don't think it's what everybody wants you to believe, that it's just they're playing it. They're shooting from the hip, back and forth. They don't really know what they're doing. There's not a plan. It more and more looks like this is a plan. And notice how gas prices haven't gone up. Notice how oil is still heading down. It's currently trading at $69, or at least it was this morning last I checked. Oil is continuing to head down. That's what it was before we went into Iran. The gas prices will catch up. It's not going to be long. Trump's already calling them out for gouging. It'll get back down into the twos soon. That's going to be wonderful for the economy, for the midterms. And notice that because Trump got this MOU in, that he's able to strike Iran, he's able to deal with all this chaos over the weekend, and yet oil prices didn't budge. Strait of Hormuz is open. Interesting. Almost like they know exactly what they're doing. Very, very funny. Very interesting. Now, look what's happening in Iraq. There is so much going on beyond just what we're seeing in Iran, beyond what we're seeing in Venezuela and other places that get all the attention, Cuba. City of London, man, the deep state tentacles are falling apart all over the place. Look at this. We have a much clearer picture of what happened in Iraq overnight. Iraq's Federal Commission of Integrity has confirmed judicial arrest warrants are being executed against individuals accused of misappropriating public funds. Commission says operation is being conducted strictly under Iraqi law and the result of coordination between judicial, executive, and legislative authorities. Iraqi state media, citing senior sources, now reports the arrest of MPs on corruption charges. This is important. Al-Kabarli is a Sunni politician, while Nassif is prominent Shiite. Confirmed names, therefore, don't support the initial theory of a crackdown directed exclusively against Sunni government. Overnight raids appear to be part of broader anti-corruption campaign ordered by Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi. This is the guy that Trump was very excited a couple months ago got elected. He was Trump's pick to become in control of Iraq. And now he's cleaning up his government. We should remain cautious about much longer lists circulating online. Operation confirmed as our arrest, but complete list of detainees has not been officially released. Now here's Joe Lange giving us a breakdown. Can you smell the panic coming from the Bush family right now? In Baghdad, Iraqi authorities arrested 47 officials, including members of parliament, as part of an anti-graft campaign in the corruption-plagued country. Iraq's new prime minister recently took office and made two main vows: fight corruption and to ensure a state monopoly on weapons. His anti-graft raids come before an expected visit next month to Washington, where he hopes to attract U.S. investment, expected to renew his promise to ensure pro-Iran armed groups hand over their weapons. Wow. Iraq's news agency, INA, quoted senior officials as saying 47 suspects were arrested on corruption charges. The new prime minister is a big ally of Trump, working with him to clean up corruption in Iraq centered around theft of American tax dollars. He's ending the money stream flowing to Iran. Uh-oh. Can you feel the city of London losing its grip? Money flow disruption. It's always about the money. This roundup began early Sunday when Iraqi security forces, primarily from anti-terrorism unit, raided Baghdad's fortified green zone and another neighborhood in the capital. High-ranking officials and politicians live there. A diplomat in Baghdad told AFP Zaidi's anti-corruption operation is part of the Washington visit preparations, designed to show his commitment to the promise. He made a promise to Trump and is taking action. He's not alone. We're helping him track dollars, and someone else helped him too. More happening across the Middle East than people realize. Do you think the timing is coincidence? Trump making a peace deal with Iran, and then this raid happens? Iraq has long walked a tightrope between competing influences with allies neighboring Iran and the United States. This means that Iraq, any of their connections to Iran, helping Iran, working with Iran, is being weeded out. Iran, he is boxing Iran in from all sides. They're going to have no choice but to play along. And the fact that, again, gas prices, oil prices haven't soared on everything that happened this weekend is a tell. The city of London just does not have that power anymore. What Trump's doing is brilliant. It's working. Derek writes this: Trump operates by turning the volume and brightness up to max dial so you can't see what he's really doing. A chaotic but equally effective alternative moving through shadows. For the audience, there's an operatic performance of negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. Backstage, Israel just signed a treaty with Lebanon designed to partner the two countries in the fight against Hezbollah. What? You mean we were all proven right? All of us who said that Trump knew exactly what he's doing with Israel were proven right? What? No way. All right, all you Israel shills who are mad at me for supporting Trump and calling out Israel, I'll accept your apologies. You can write to me. They did it. Trump got them to stop targeting civilian buildings and work with Lebanon, and now they've signed a treaty with Lebanon. What? Funny how that works. Funny how Trump's right about pretty much everything. I love it. Again, you guys can write your apologies out and send them to my email. I will be accepting them. And don't worry, I won't put you on blast. Middle East is cutting out Iran like a cancer, and that surgery is being missed because the TV in the waiting room has been set to max volume. You know what this means, guys? This means that Trump, nation by nation in the Middle East, is getting the right people in place to bring peace to the Middle East, to eradicate the terrorism, to eradicate the financial shadow banking that funds all this stuff, to get rid of the big bully in the neighborhood, Iran with its nukes, and take and depower, I don't have a better word for that right now, to weaken the Islamic Republic and the IRGC, get them all weaker and weaker and weaker, weaken the mullahs, get the moderates in place, and as a bonus, dangling a carrot in front of them, give Iran the potential, and controlled by the moderates, to come back on the world stage and be treated like a nation, creating economic ties that mean massive penalties if they screw up. Because once those people start experiencing a better way of life, they're not going to want to go back. Look what's happened with Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. Those nations aren't looking to blow up Israel anymore, are they? Nope. The Abraham Accords, not all those nations are in it, but it was a start for all this. And now Trump he's forcing Israel to the table to negotiate. And just like I said, Israel, what Trump was telling them is, Israel, we support you. We're the only people supporting you. But you cannot play by the old rules anymore. We're not the same people who were in charge before. We are bringing about a better solution that will be better for you. So stop bombing the way you're doing it. You can defend yourselves, but not the way you used to. We're changing things. And this is more proof of that. So we have Iraq clearing out just a couple months after Trump got his guy in. Lebanon's settling down. Israel and Lebanon are figuring this out, going to get Hezbollah out. Iran, their government, civil war. And Trump just put the blast on more of their defenses, their Timu missiles from China. Took those out and got them right back to the table again. Every aspect of this says Trump and the administration knows exactly what they're doing. It's beautiful to watch. And you're not going to get this breakdown from many places. It's why we got to pay close attention to the actual details of all this. But again, Trump is not playing around, and I think we're very close. I think this Iran thing is going to last at least through the midterms. And then if Trump has to double down on bombing something good crazy, he will. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is one of those deals, one of those situations that's going to shock the world, just like Trump's already done so many times before. And there's nothing more fun than calling out all the libs, all the establishment types, the neocon types, when they're 100% wrong, which I believe we're going to get to do a lot of this year. All right. You guys don't mind, hit that like, that subscribe. We got so much more to get to today. We're nowhere near the end. We're going to talk next about all the nice economic data coming in, more wins for the Trump administration heading into the midterms, and then what Trump's doing and calling out all this communism and the ramp up of justice, arrests, accountability in our nation. So lots more to get to. Plus, and part of that is going to be covering Trump's amazing speech Friday night. All right, let me get into the chat. Frosted Sheet says, Colorado Supreme Court has unanimously blocked Democrat redistricting in Colorado. That would have given them 3 more seats. Hallelujah. Great stuff. Great news. All right. Don't see many tags, so maybe we'll just go right into the next thing. Kent is a joke. For all that's like everybody writing in the chat. Yeah, Joe Kent is a joke. Anybody trying to run for president? Yeah, good luck with that. Tucker and Kent want to get elected as dog catcher. I love that. What is everybody's gas at right now? Everybody's gas going down? Actually, let me check on gas prices. What's oil at this morning? All right, so oil's ticked up, but it's just still barely above 70. These are not the fluctuations we were seeing, the $9, $10 jumps and declines. It's stabilized, so we're much different. And this is still low enough where gas prices will continue to go down. DJ, I'm not disagreeing with you. I know Epstein was Jewish. I know there's infiltration, but it's not. I just don't think it's what you think it is. So I'm not. Yeah. Listen, guys, I'm not going to play the everything is about Israel game. I'm sorry. It's tired. It's just not. It's not interesting because it's just not what they want. There's a reason why all the grifters, why all the media wants you to focus on it all the time, because it's a distraction from the real enemies. It's just like when Alex Jones came out the other day and was like, I'm not paid by China. I can't even do Alex's voice anymore because my voice till I get all the way back. But where he was like, I'm not paid by China. I'm not paid by Russia. I'm not paid by Muslim. I can't remember everybody he listed, but he did not list City of London. They just don't want you to look at City of London. So I want to focus on what Trump's actually doing to get that, which is our real enemy, down. So how about Pressler Thune? I talked about it a little last week. There's nothing more to it. The guy got fired that kicked Pressler out. So, but you know what? One of the reasons they want you to focus on Israel, not enough people talk about this, because in evangelical Christianity in the West, especially in America, Israel is like a sacred cow. You just don't mess with it. And because they want to split the MAGA base, which is mostly Christian, away from President Trump. So they always blow up the Israel stuff to be more than it is. It doesn't mean there's not real issues there. And I call those out when they happen. Shoot, I called out Israel so much the other week that I had several of my loyal viewers very angry at me because you just don't go there, right? So I do call out Israel when it's time to call them out. But there's just way too much focus on it. And I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to play that game. DJ, this idea that we'd be fully Christian even if we got rid of everybody, even if we got rid of all the Jewish influence and the Muslim influence and everything, that's just not going to happen. We were never fully Christian even in the 1800s. So it's just, we've always been around the 75, like at the height, we were around 70, 80%. But even at that height, when people claimed to be Christian, that we had less people going to church in those days than we do today as a percentage. So a lot of people just, in the old days, you just called yourself Christian because you were born that way, born into a Christian family. Didn't mean you were practicing. So, I mean, the idea that we'd ever get to, 80% of like hardcore Christians in our country is just not going to happen. But can we be at, 60, 65%, which we're currently at 66% and growing? Yeah, that can happen. But it's not Israel's influence that's holding us back. I don't subscribe to that. Jay says, those still watching InfoWars by now are deliberately drinking the Brondo. I don't care if it's electrolytes or not. Yeah. So let me talk to that real quick before we go on to the next segment. I got to show you guys something I thought was really funny today. Speaking of War Room, Bannon was doing the Bannon blackpilling today. This is how Bannon blackpills, okay? Let me show you. So like this, where he says the Republican Party does not give an alternative to Democrats. That's so not true. It's so not true. It's so crazy to say that, because I get what he's going for. He's trying to make a point about the rhinos, like Mike DeWine in Ohio. Okay, that's fine, Steve, but you're still lying to people, and this is dooming. This is blackpilling. This is the sneaky way to do it, because you get people to lose hope. Because what other option do we have right now? No, a rhino is still better than a Democrat. If a rhino gives you 70% of what you want, that's 70 versus 0%. That's a big win. I'm sorry. And this is how Bannon does. This is how he undermines Trump. He's very smart. He's very sneaky, but he blackpills you slowly through stuff like this. Instead of just saying Mike DeWine's a problem, or I can't believe the rhinos did this and let's take them out. No, he says stuff like this. Republican Party doesn't give an alternative to Democrats. It's insane. It's an insane thing to say. Or this. Markwayne Mullin's a complete disaster? What? Markwayne Mullin's been awesome. Our deportations are way up. He's kicking ass. He did a wonderful job. I mean, he's only been there a couple months too. This is the kind of stuff. See, this is the kind of thing he says that blackpills people to think there's no hope. And I'm calling it bannoning from now on. It's the pretending you're MAGA while undermining it. Because what this does is it's basically saying like Trump is making bad choices and those around him won't do what he wants. Because he can't go after Trump. If he does, he loses his viewership. But what he'll do is he'll go after everybody around Trump. And that's exactly what he's doing. So it's just bannoning is despicable. It's pathetic. And it just pisses me off. But yeah, that's what Bannon's doing. That's what the people watching War Room are getting. Great stuff, huh? It doesn't mean that he never does a good interview or anything like that, but still. Rafe says, why am I not talking about Islam? For one thing, Islam's a problem as far as like what they're doing. I mean, obviously I call out the communists and their radical Islamists in New York and stuff like that, but Islam is not the major threat to our nation. It's just not. If it was, I would be calling that out. But I think that problem is basically fixing itself as Trump is fixing the border issue. So, you know, I think the ideology of the left and the deep state stuff is far more important right now. And that's why I don't need to call out Islam. I mean, come on, that's a joke. I don't understand. Like, what have I ever said that's pro-Islam on this channel? Anything else before we go on here? All right. Oh, okay, Rafe. I thought you were calling me out. I was like, what? I don't ignore it. And wherever it becomes a problem. Listen, guys, I get a couple hours a day to go through all this stuff. I cover probably far more than most other channels cover. And I still have to make choices. I have to make choices on what's most important to cover and what's not. And so, there's only so much I can do. And so I'm going to focus on what's actually the most important stuff for moving forward. That's what I'm going to stick with. Let's see. Mr. G, when did they not teach these people you're only popular because Trump revitalized your career? Go against Trump and it's a wrap. Yeah, Bannon knows that lesson. That's why he hasn't outright gone against Trump. But it's still wearing him down. Violence says, I'm still waiting for Bannon to explain trying to get Trump to talk to Epstein in the White House. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get you. Sierra says, do I think Iran has drones and missiles hiding in Mexico? No, I don't. If they did, they would have already used them because we have just obliterated like so much of their military. So yeah, the whole Tucker thing is crazy. Thank you, Starry. All right, let's get into this next segment here. So let me take a sip. There are some major wins going on for the Trump administration. And it's not just Trump administration. You guys got to understand, when I say Trump administration, I mean America, because I actually think the Trump administration is trying to get America back the way we not just used to be in our minds, but the way we want to be, the way that we can be proud of, the thing that makes us American. So when I say the Trump administration is winning, I mean the real America is winning. The real people of Americans, the common sense people, the patriotic people. And one win is this World Cup. It is massive. As of this weekend, it became the highest attended tournament in history. 3.6 million spectators after Ecuador-Germany match in New York, New Jersey, and the total's still climbing. You understand, like, this is foreign nations pouring in, thinking we're amazing. But not only that, think of the boost to the economy of all this spending, all this money coming here. And Carolyn Levitt talks about this for a minute here on Fox this morning.
It's been amazing to really witness and to see just the interest from around the entire world, and to see people flock to our country for these games has been really special, to enjoy the United States, our food, our culture, and also the impact that this is having on local economies across the country. It's generating millions of dollars in revenue. And I know people are really just witnessing this now. In beer alone, that's right. But this has been months in the making, and the president has worked closely firsthand with Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, with the Department of Homeland Security, to secure all of these venues, to ensure that fans and the players, of course, are safe. And so far, so good. And we have a big game, Team USA playing Wednesday. So good luck to them. It's been amazing.
Remember, last week I showed you guys how the Democrats were panicking about this and trying to downplay it. That tells you that it worries them. This is all part of Patriotic Summer. Next week, July 4th, 250th anniversary. 250th birthday of our nation. Hope you guys all do something amazing. Hope you have a lot of fun. The patriotism is rising. The thrill of America right now is rising. The feeling we're back is rising. And that matters. It matters to the psyche of Americans. It matters to our enthusiasm for voting. It just matters for culture in general, for the generation moving forward, how we shift and see our country. People will remember this for decades. It's just amazing to me that this was timed on our 250th anniversary with Trump in charge. Huge, huge deal. And this is continuing to move forward. As it's doing so, as all this money's coming in, as all this excitement for our country is rising up, well, the economy is just going to get better and better. Trump put out this morning, WTI crude 69 heading down. This is less than it was prior to the start of the denuclearization of Iran. This is wonderful framing. The denuclearization of Iran. $69, less than it was. All wonderful framing. People see this. Trump has a bigger mic than anybody else. You get all this out there, people start feeling better about themselves. They start thinking, man, we got rid of Iran's nuke and nothing bad happened? That's amazing. Keep it coming, because as oil goes down, and soon will be interest rates, watch carefully. In the next couple months, the next Fed meeting, do not be shocked if we get interest rates go down. This will be a massive influx into the economy. Big old jolt to an economy that's already heating up quickly. And we're seeing it. Hassett talks about the energy markets, and energy again is the key to this economy thriving and going past where we've gone before.
We've got pipelines in Saudi Arabia and UAE that before the war were operating really below capacity. And because the straits were closed, then they've come up with ways to operate closer to capacity. There's been a big drawdown in inventories globally. And so I think that basically once traffic is really moving, we go back to more than 100 ships a day, then you're going to see prices even come down from there, because there's going to be so much oil pouring out. And so in the meantime, right now we've got the memorandum of understanding. We've got, Vice President is on the case, and the President has said that we're going to have some more talks tomorrow. My view is that what's going to happen between now and the 60-day memorandum of understanding discussion is that they'll be testing the resolve of the President now and then, and nobody should ever try to test the resolve of Donald Trump. And there was a little bit of a test this week, and of course he delivered a pushback that has the back of the table. And the bottom line, the macro picture is that the straits are going to be open, Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon, and the global oil market is going to be safer, and there's going to be more oil than you've ever seen before, and risk premia in the Middle East will go down because of the peace that President Trump has negotiated.
Oil is going to be more than we've ever seen before. We're already seeing that. It's a glut. We've had people come out and say, there's an oil crisis. We have too much. No, that's a good problem to have. Always abundance mindset. Let's work with the abundance. Oil prices, they're going to have to fight at some point to keep prices up in order to keep a profit. Whether that means $50, 55, 45, whatever that level is, once it starts going into a place where it's not profitable anymore, that's the danger zone for that. But it also is a good thing for the consumer. We get to that level and they keep it just where they need to be profitable. And all of a sudden, oil is way down for us. Those prices stabilize because there's so much oil everywhere. They just keep it right at that profitability mark. And all of a sudden, our economy is humming. Energy powers everything. If you look at the difference between third world nations and first world nations, it's almost always energy. We are about to enter the greatest energy boom in world history, not just American history, world history. And guess who's leading it? We are. All this is happening on Trump's watch, while also creating an environment, lower taxes, lower regulations. We're open for business. More inflow of capital is coming into our markets than ever before, into our businesses than ever before. Manufacturing is ticking up. This is all coming together at precisely the right time, heading into end of Q2, into Q3 for the midterms. They are freaking out about this. They know this is a possibility, and this is why they want Iran to keep bombing, to keep fighting. But that's getting weak. They're getting weaker and weaker every time they try something. Peter St. Ong came out today and says a new study says home prices could fall in 300 cities as sellers swamp the market. Right now, there are more sellers to buyers than in any time in history. 600,000 plus sellers more than buyers. That's a huge shift. This is going to impact prices massively going forward. And guess what? It's mostly, or a lot of it's from illegal immigrants leaving. I don't know if you guys remember, but last year I talked about this. I talked about how as illegals leave, housing is going to experience a boost, a jump to the markets. Is it any coincidence that we have seen more people leave this nation than at any time in history in the last year? In fact, for the first time in our history, our population went down for the year because less people entered than left. And all of a sudden there's more houses on the market. It's just a matter of time till those prices start plummeting. And the Federal Reserve estimates the illegal immigrants were responsible for 30% of the housing crisis. We have no idea how much more impact the illegal immigrants leaving is going to affect our prices. They are starting to talk about a deflationary cycle coming, guys, and that's going to be very good for the consumers in this nation. Get ready for it because that's going to be the sign of a strong economy as well. Now, Trump is, again, hitting it from all angles. Today, he signed something, 2 days ago, signed something massively popular. A regenerative agriculture order to boost food supply. I don't know how many of you guys know about regenerative farming, but it is the future. It's the only way to keep farming while also being good to our soil, being good to our farms, land long term. This is massive. All the best farmers do it. The smartest farmers do it. We are making a shift towards that. This will mean better food, more nutrient-dense food, and cheaper food as this expands. Cheaper food's also going to be starting because energy prices are going down. The Trump administration is hitting everything. This is a big win for Maha, but also for the economy. They are so smart. I'm sorry. These wins keep piling up. But again, you don't see the effects of this immediately. It takes time to farm. It takes time to build up regenerative farming. But a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, food will get better and cheaper. And this will also fix the upcoming predicted soil crisis that was coming to our nation in the next few years, which could have led to another Dust Bowl kind of scenario for a few years where our farms dried up because the soil was getting so it was losing so many of its nutrients because they weren't letting it rest. This will solve all that. Again, massive effects on our economy going forward. Now, it's not all rosy. And I want to talk about our markets. Now, this is Bam. He's a friend of mine. He's also the smartest person I know when it comes to markets. He is a genius. 40 years experience on Wall Street. People use his model all over the world, and his stuff is incredibly brilliant. He is putting out a warning that he sees a cabal, which City of London types, looking to make an attack on our markets. The good news is the Trump administration, through all these other policies I just talked about, have been building a Main Street marketplace, a Main Street economy again that will protect the economy from the stock market controlling everything. We will get back to a place where the real economy leads the stock market, not the stock market leading the real economy. That's been the problem, but that's the globalist system. City of London system is financial system. It controls the economy. Trump's breaking us from that. He's bringing us back to an American system where producing is the real economy. It doesn't mean they're not going to attack, though. In Bam's model right now, as he writes in this post, he says, my largest institutional clients use my service because, in their words, my approach was completely different than any other forecasting service in the world. They subscribed to the original BAM report to assess extreme tail risk. Today, my stock market index model is more bearish than it's ever been, a combination of 29, 37, and 2008. The cabal is setting up the biggest rug pull in history. Don't let greed blind you. This looks generational. Now, does this mean it's going to happen? No. Bam has said this himself when I've had him on my show. The Trump administration has continually surprised him with how they've held up markets, how they've fought off these attacks. But it does mean be ready. Be smart with your investments, because the old days of the stock market just being controlled, being manipulated, controlling our economy using this financial system, Trump is ending that system, building a real economy again, but the globalist cabal is still going to try to hurt Trump in any way they can. And knocking down the stock market would be an attack. It'd be an attack on our liquidity, be a attack on our banks, our lending. It would hurt the economy, but not as much as it would have in the past. And that's why the Trump administration has been making so many moves to get away from Wall Street controlling everything. However, if they do this, if they create a crash or a major correction, what it will do is a couple things. A, politically, it'll hurt Trump for a little bit. B, it'll put a little bit of a pause on our economy. It'll because of the liquidity drying up. It won't crash it, but it'll hurt it temporarily. But the good news is the last thing. C, it will end the manipulation in the markets, because the Trump administration will be able to use this as an opportunity to weed out a lot of the corruption in our markets and rebuild the stock market the way it should be, based upon the real economy. But keep your eyes open, because Bam's not the only one seeing this. He's just the smartest one seeing it. So they still have a say. The enemy still has tools. just like they got the Supreme Court to uphold mail-in ballots today, they also have leverage in the market still, and they're going to use them if they can. So keep your eyes open. It's not all roses going forward. It is getting better. Many good things are happening. And as have often happened, many times their moves, the Trump's counter moves are much more powerful and they're ready for it. I have no doubt in my mind that if Bam is seeing this coming on his in his algorithm, then the Trump administration also sees it coming and has plans for it, whether it happens or doesn't. So, but long term, guys, I go back to what Hassett said about oil and energy. Long term, America is in a very good place. And short term, we're in a very strong one. I think it's only going to get better from here, despite a few hiccups that we could see, especially in our markets. This economy they're building is a real economy based upon energy and production. And that's an economy you can't beat, especially when you're the world leader. And that's what they're creating. And it's why I think we're going to see a golden age of prosperity here over the next few years and into the next few decades. All right, please hit that like and subscribe, guys. I got one more big segment coming up about everything we've been voting for, justice, accountability, and how Trump is really going after this whole communist thing and why I think it's a very good thing for what we want to see justice-wise. D3 asked, has Bam made defensive recommendations? I can't speak for him. The things I've seen him boast as like, maybe get into cash for a little bit. Gold and silver are always hedges. And then you could do the UVIX or UVXY, which is basically betting against the market, stuff like that. Short-term pain for long-term game. Absolutely. I did see a super chat come in. So I want to, Johnny Hinojosa, is that it? With the $10 super chat. Thank you, Johnny, for supporting the channel. Says, look at Texas. They open like 25 churches. I don't know how to call their buildings. You mean mosques for Islam? And they start voting in a block. There's an infection to begin from the bone. We need to start talking about it. I have called out some of this stuff with the, let me put it this way. Right now, what is happening with this radical Islamist caliphate kind of stuff they're trying to bring into our nation, it was becoming a major problem with the illegal immigration. They were coming in by the boatloads. Right now, they still have control over certain communities like Dearborn, Michigan. That is a problem, especially for those communities. It's not a problem nationally yet, and it's not even close to being a problem nationally yet. That's why I don't talk about the Islam stuff right now, because I am focused on the national level at the fixes being made and at the threats to that. If immigration hadn't been fixed, I would agree with you. But we are deporting many of these people. We have stopped the inflow. So this growth of these radical Islamic communities has significantly slowed down. And in fact, with that TPS ruling we just got with the Haitians, Somalians, a lot of it's going to be reversed. So that's why I'm not focusing a lot of attention on it. If it grows, if it gets worse, I'll talk about it. But as for now, I think it's a problem that is mostly under control. Dan says, I'm saying I lost money on my house. That's the story of my life. I support Trump. It's not his fault. I bought a house at the worst time ever. That sucks, Dan. It really does. But you can rebuild from that. Listen, I've lost a lot of money in the stock market the last, few years. But instead of, getting upset about it, and, it hurt. And at times I panicked a little bit. But what I chose to do instead is figure out how to just make that money back. See, I look at money as I look at it as an infinite resource. There's always enough money for everybody to make some. But what I don't have is time and energy. Those are not infinite resources. So I'm always looking at how I can make more money for myself and my family, and overcome mistakes. And I look at my mistakes as learning. And so I paid a price to learn hard lessons. and I'm going to learn from those lessons and move forward and teach others. And so I look at that, and that's how I look at it. And I'm sorry, Dan, for all your losses, but there's always a future. There's always a future. Okay. Did I miss anything else? Sherry Harder, welcome to the Mega Ace-hole, supporting the channel. Thank you for your membership. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. Trump ran on lowering prices and didn't, and that's going to hurt him. That's just simply not true, Dan. Prices can't be lowered immediately. What did you want him to do? Wave his magic wand and everybody stop charging? He has lowered gas. That's a fact, except for this little blip. But overall, it's still lower than the Biden administration. And that affects everything. My food prices in North Carolina are about 5% cheaper across the board. Eggs are like one third of what they cost a year ago. Housing is starting to get cheaper. I don't know what you're talking about. He's lowered a lot of prices. And wages are up 3% since he came into office. So I understand it might not have helped you yet, but it's just not true to say he hasn't lowered prices. Plus, real economic policies take 18 to 24 months to see real results from. So we're only at the beginning of the results he's brought. Will taxpayers get money back stolen from them by fraudsters and illegals? I don't know, Savs. It's impossible to know that because, listen, it's not like the government. If we want the government to be what it's going to be, it's not like they can just cut checks to everybody all the time. Fraudsters, if we see all the time, like in civil cases where a company or an individual gets busted and then they have to pay out, whatever, and you get like a fraction of what you lost, right? But something's paid back to you. So you can always sue for reparations. But the fact is that a lot of times that money's just gone and they can declare bankruptcy and get out of it. So we'd have to change our bankruptcy laws in order for that to happen. All we can do is look forward, guys. Looking back is not always the best thing to do. There's certain cases where it helps and we should fight for justice. But if we're just thinking like we're all going to end up with money back from everything that was stolen from us over the years, it's probably not going to happen. But what we can do is fight for a better future that enables us to build back everything we lost. And honestly, most loss in my life, I focus on just getting better all the time. Whether I've been stolen from, whether it was my mistake, whatever, I just focus on getting better all the time. And I leave the repayment to God. And, and then we see how that works out. But that's not something I think the federal government can make happen in every situation. David asks, when do I think new and used car market will drop? Well, Trump just had a bunch of regulations rolled back on cars. So we should start, and that happened last year. So in the next cycle of cars being built, we should start seeing cheaper vehicles because now they can build vehicles that don't have these crazy regulations on them for gasoline and for gas mileage, stuff like that. Okay. So it's a matter of time. I think in the next year, we'll start seeing some movement on that. Molly says, I know prices aren't going down, but portions are getting bigger. So you're still getting a bang for your buck that way. That's good. DJ says, what if the current economy system isn't meant to be saved but dismantled? I think it's both and. Both and. They don't want everybody to lose themselves. So they want them to, have a transition into a better, newer thing. I agree with that. All right. I catch up with everything. I think so. Dennis says, if government stamps out fraud, budget may be balanced, and money recovered can pay down debt, dollar gets stronger, everything gets cheaper. Yeah. That's one way to do it. I also don't think, I don't know. I think there's something bigger planned than that, but I agree that would do that. Absolutely. Okay. let's get into it. So, this communist thing is a big deal, guys. Last week, Trump made it clear. And from what we're seeing this week, it's only getting more clear. Last week, when New York was taken over by the communists, President Trump came out and said, this is what I've been waiting for. They're making their move. And now Trump is constantly calling out communism and what the communists want to do in this country and how we're going to win. This is a big deal. I think something shifted. And what we're going to see from here is the big question. And I believe that we're going to start seeing what a lot of us have been hoping for since we voted in Trump. And Trump, again, yesterday called out the communists. Said communism is the greatest threat to our country since World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or 9/11. Basically, he just equated communism to every great threat of the last 100 years and saying it's even more so. That's telling us we're at war. And the question is, how is Trump going to handle this? He called out that they're trying to get a communist in Washington, D.C. Says Janice Lewis George, the communist who's almost certainly going to be elected mayor of Washington, D.C., has stated she wants to empty prisons, make D.C. sanctuary city, oppose ICE, welcome criminal illegal aliens back to our beloved capital, resist anti-crime crackdowns, defund the police, continue to expand cashless bail, and so many other capital-destroying things. In the end, it won't work out, nor will I let it have a chance, because I've worked too hard to make D.C. the envy of the world with almost no crime, and a beautification process has been second to none. I will meet with her, but must forewarn everyone that Washington, D.C. is a gun-safe and prestigious community. Many people, including myself, have worked long and hard to get it there, and we will not let it be destroyed by a communist adherent who has no intention to make Washington great again. Interesting. Especially where he says, nor will I let it have a chance. Is Trump about to refederalize completely Washington, D.C.? This is going to be interesting. Glenn Beck is kind of where I'm on this. This is from Friday after Trump put out his communist post saying this is what he's been waiting for. This is interesting.
Yesterday, he tweeted on Truth Social, the communists are finally making their move. I've been waiting and preparing for this for a long time. What the hell does that mean? I mean, that makes me happy. I've been waiting and preparing for this for a long time. It's easy to be communist. All you have to do is say, I'll give you everything. But that means you're taking it away from others who have earned it. Over thousands of years, this ideology has not worked once. The game is on. Listen to this. The game is on. Enjoy watching. President Donald J. Trump. What the hell does enjoy? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to watch. But what does that mean? What does he have up his sleeve?
That's what we're all wondering. And again, Trump doesn't do this stuff randomly. He doesn't just throw this out there for the fun of it. We've learned that Trump's always signaling to us. So what's coming? Well, I can tell you some stuff's already happening. The DOJ has just opened grand jury investigation into Marxist tycoon Neville Roy Singham. This is big. This is one of the big guys who funds the left, the far left, the crazies. He is one of the big ones behind it all. And alleged money laundering or other financial crimes from his base in China to funding far-left nonprofits in the U.S. and the world. Fox News exclusive, what I've learned from people in the investigation. U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton for the U.S. DNI, one of the country's most powerful districts. By the way, this is the guy that Trump is going to bring in for ODNI after Pulte leaves. One of the country's most powerful districts for federal prosecutions has launched a federal grand jury investigation into American Marxist tycoon Neville Roy Singham's financial network, examining potential financial crimes including wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering from his base in Shanghai. Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche authorized investigation as the Trump administration seeks to crack down on fraud, money laundering, and other financial crimes in the multi-billion-dollar nonprofit industry. Scott Bessent traveled to New York City earlier this year for a meeting with Goldman Sachs Chair and CEO David Solomon. Men discussed role of Goldman Sachs' philanthropic arm, donor-advised philanthropy fund for wealth management that facilitated the movement by Singham of millions of dollars into a network of U.S. profits. Listen to that. Goldman Sachs facilitating that money. Oh, boy. At that meeting, sources said Bessent delivered a blunt ultimatum. Goldman Sachs could face scrutiny for alleged conspiracy in the funneling of Singham money and urged Solomon to cooperate with federal investigators. Goldman Sachs is cooperating. This is how they restructure the system. It's all about the money. Federal prosecutors are examining a financial structure that follows the three stages investigators often analyze in alleged money laundering: placement, layering, and integration. Treasury, DOJ, and Goldman Sachs declined to comment. Singham, his wife, Jody Evans, also under investigation. The organization, the Singham Network, didn't respond. Alleged placement. According to reporting, approximately $278 million entered the U.S. financial system through entities Mutad LLC, Goldman Sachs Donor Advised Philanthropy Fund, and Likewise Conceptions. These funds were allegedly routed through 6 nonprofit organizations: People's Support Foundation, Justice Education Fund, People's Forum, Tricontinental Ltd, Code Pink, and Breakthrough BT Media. According to reporting, organizations distributed funding and supported a broader activist network included People's Welfare Association, Answer Coalition, Party for Socialism and Liberation, and numerous organizations across sub-Saharan Africa, Central America, North America, and other regions. Federal prosecutors have issued grand jury subpoenas seeking bank records and financial documents as they determine whether criminal charges are warranted. A grand jury investigation is an investigative process, not a finding of guilt. For this reporting, I traced hundreds of financial transactions, nonprofit filings, and corporate records documenting how much allegedly moved through the network. Watch the money flow. How the money flows through Shanghai. That's kind of a cool little graph through the NGOs. Whoop. This is part of it. Take out the system's money. Now remember, communism is the tool of the globalists, of the Davos crowd, City of London. When Trump's calling out the communists, he's calling them out. And it's a lot easier to call them out. Remember, everything is narrative. Narrative matters. Narrative is how you get people on your side. You get the narrative, you say communist, people get it. They wake up, they say, nope, not here, not in America. You get people on your side, people understand what you're trying to beat. This is why Trump doesn't say City of London or globalists. No, communists are the threat. That's what they really are. He's calling it out. And as the Democratic Party gets more communist, this is empowering Trump to get louder and louder about it. Here is Singham talking about what he wants to do.
This fascist lie that the West says that there's a battle between fascism, democracy, and communism. They make a fake argument that there are 3 systems. I think VJ has done a very good job of explaining that, in fact, fascism is actually a face of capitalism and imperialism, as is colonialism. These are the 3 faces of a system that quite now is getting very, very dangerous for us. The reason I think this study and the role of the Global South Academic Forum and of China is this moment of history, if we want to understand international rules-based order, which is their favorite term, it was the Americans who took the Japanese scientist who conducted biological experiments against the Chinese, put them in off of any punishment. It was the English who took the Italian fascists and made sure they were not charged. The international rules-based order was created by another lie, which was that the fascists were all protected by the Americans and put into power in their countries, in Japan and in Italy. If we want to therefore have a new world order that is based on multilateralism that President Xi and CPC and China have proposed, we have to undo the ideological damage that has been done by the narrative of World War II.
Multilateralism. That is one of the globalists' big terms. And here, Singham is doing it from China. The funny thing is China hates the globalist system. They hate Europe. They hate all of it. In fact, City of London is responsible for the Opium Wars. They go a long way back in trying to destroy China. Of course, the Chinese communist system is something the globalists admire. They admire and want to implement it for all of us. That doesn't mean China is the one behind it. However, it is the clue is always that multilateralism, because that's that globalism idea. We all work together. We all conglomerate into a new world order. That's one system. But that is the City of London system, not the Chinese. But, you know, they know what they're doing. This gets everybody afraid of China, which there's good reason to be. But it gets you to ignore the globalist City of London types. But that's exactly what this guy's pushing. That system, along with the Soroses of the world. They're all working together, which is why they're funding the exact same people through the exact same organizations. Now, last week, Bolton, part of this weeding out is that Trump's also taken out the neocon faction of all the globalists, the deep state system. And Bolton last week was busted. And in his plea agreement, a lot of people are like, oh, he's just going to get off. Nope. He faces up to 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, a $2 million fine, forfeiture of his pension, and he's not sentenced till October. But we could see Bolton go to prison, and I'm believing that this is just the beginning, because what he did is insane. I mean, the Espionage Act, previously demanding execution for whistleblower Snowden and Chelsea Manning, 176 years in prison for publisher Julian Assange, retained sensitive national security information. There's a lot of these people. A lot of these people, and the Trump administration has a lot of them dead to rights. And I believe we're going to see more of this ramping up. Now, the deep state is panicking. Hillary Clinton was, excuse me, very upset this week as J.D. Vance called out that the deep state took down Nixon. So Hillary and her minions, excuse me. Whoa. Sorry, guys, getting too excited, I guess. All right, had some gunk trying to come out. Now my eyes are all red. Looks like I'm half baked, getting ready to talk about Clinton. Probably appropriate. Woo! All right. Got through it. All right. So last week, JD called out the deep state for taking down Nixon. Hillary Clinton and her acolytes were not happy about this and rushed to his defense. Defense of the deep state, that is. Says, maybe Vance doesn't know this history because in one of the books his administration banned. The difference between Watergate now is that back then Republicans did something about law-breaking president. Today they only roll over for their cult leader. You sense the panic. These people are so scared. Their narratives are disappearing and being broken down left and right. And it's narratives, they don't want to see the truth like this. So this last weekend, Pete Buttigieg called out that there was a false report on him and his husband. CPS report, his kids were taken away for a day. And now they're trying to use this as a weaponization of politics. But problem is, his best friend was a pedophile, caught with child porn, sent to prison for 30 years. 500 children abused in his material. Now, he has gotten children through paying for babies to be born to them. And now there's reports of you or your husband sexually abusing the kids. Do you think there's more, Pete Buttigieg? I don't know. We'll find out. There's lots of shady stuff with these gay guys when they buy children. And they are trying to call it out as political hit job. But the truth is, are we going to get some exposure of Buttigieg before the 2028 election, as he's one of the favorites to run? I don't know, but this is the kind of stuff they want you to not see as they make a big deal out of this while not telling you about this. USAID drying up. Well, USAID was Mike Benz has tracked it to directly funding deep state operations in Ukraine. 90% of the media outlets in Ukraine got USAID funding. Excuse me. Some's trying to come up, or some doesn't want me to do this segment, guys. I don't know which it is, but it's trying to take my voice away. Anyways, now that USAID is gone, 80% of their budget taken away. This is the kind of thing they don't want you to see, but it's also how the Trump administration is winning. Pulling the funding is crushing the communist globalist plans. It just is. So when Trump's calling it out, this is a big part of what he's talking about. Now, part of this is the deportations, clearing up our borders, getting the radicals out, especially the plant radicals from third world countries. This year, the latest report is more people may have left the U.S. and entered it for the first time in 50 years. This is huge. This is a big part of the healing. And Mark Wayne Mullins tells us that deportations are not just up, they're way up.
Well, first of all, right now we're on a path this year, 26, to well pass what we did in 25. I mean, our numbers are, in fact, within probably within the next 6 weeks, we'll probably pass what we deported all of 25, what we're going to do in 26, maybe 2 months, but I think we'll definitely do it within 2 months, but should be probably 6 weeks at the current rate. Well, first,
you hear that? By August, the 8th month of the year, we'll have surpassed all of 2025. That's a big uptick, and that's without all the ICE agents still being enforced, trained, without the Supreme Court decisions that just enabled us to ramp this up that just came out. This is a big deal where it's only going to pick up. And this is who Steve Bannon is calling a failure, by the way. Doesn't seem much like a failure to me. They are definitely succeeding. Currently, we have the biggest deportation program in history. Here's all the upticks on the graphs. You see daily ICE arrests way up, ICE deportations way up, more immigration cases ending in removal orders way up. It's all happening right now. And this is how you beat them back. You make America America again. And we end the fraud. Kennedy and Oz just came out with a statement about Obamacare. That's going to be cleaning up a lot of this money.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. I'm joined today by my good friend and anti-fraud warrior, CMS Administrator, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Healthcare fraud and corruption affect millions of Americans, and maybe even you. The Obamacare marketplace is plagued by fraud, in large part because the Biden administration dismantled basic program integrity guardrails, while partisan lawfare blocked common sense efforts to protect taxpayers. Today, Dr. Oz and I are exposing one of the latest examples of fraud that we've uncovered. More than 1 million people enrolled in Obamacare without Social Security numbers on file. That is a glaring warning sign of fraud. If even a single person was on Obamacare with no Social Security number, we should have found out. Why are we paying people who we don't know if they actually exist?
1 million people on Obamacare without Social Security numbers. That is insane. This was part of, it's all a communist idea to get us to where the system would have collapsed on its own weight. And then we would have been forced, politically that is, to do universal basic health care, where everybody just goes on the system and the government fully controls it, just like in other countries. This is what they want. This is a globalist playbook. This is why it's in all the European nations and Canada, etc. They control your health that way. They control your life expectancy that way. They get to determine whether or not you live, whether or not you are worth it in old age. It's all a disgusting sham, and it bankrupts countries. This is all by design, but we're weeding it out. This is a big deal. You get 1 million people off the books. That's a lot of money. You think the subsidies on this are thousands of dollars a year. So 1 million, thousands, we're talking billions in savings. It's a big deal, guys. And again, we're getting more and more justice. Now, Trump on Friday gave a massive speech. And I thought the timing of this is very interesting. He went to the Faith and Freedom Coalition. This is the same week where Tucker Carlson accused him of not liking Christians. It's the same week when the communists took over New York and Trump called it out. Very interesting timing, how this all lined up. Timing is always so fascinating with Trump. It says, I'll be speaking at 1:30 to the Faith and Freedom Coalition, and one of the statements I'll be making, perhaps the most important, concerns the recent election of communists in our country. Communism is very easy to sell. I'd be the greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent, free houses, free food, everything's free. Unfortunately, after 2 or 3 years, a country where this is taking place would fail. It always does. And then you'll start living in squalor. There'll be no food. There's no housing, no military, no nothing. You'll be third world every way, and everyone will suffer or die. I'm sorry to say, but assassinations of those who oppose them is a very important element of their ideology. Oh, call them right out. They're animals. In many cases, not smart, but in some cases they are. It's easy for them to get followers because they make promises they know they can't keep. And Democrats aren't fighting back. In many ways, they're allowing them to go their own way. They're afraid they'll lose their election, afraid of conflict. They're not smart enough or tough enough to fight this plague. If they fought them the way they fight Republicans or me, they'd be victorious, but they don't have the courage to do so. These are not social Democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence 250 years ago. Wow. That is a statement. This is the biggest threat to our country since its existence 250 years ago. Does that tell you what we're dealing with? This system, the City of London system that almost took us over, that Hillary Clinton would have ushered us into, that Kamala Harris would have ushered us into if allowed to. It tells you what Trump's telling us is behind the scenes. It's so much worse than you guys know. And what I'm doing, it basically is so much more miraculous than I get credit for, because we did ward off the end of America as we know it. Isn't it ironic? We're celebrating a very important birthday, and instead of speaking about Christ, he put Christ first. Notice this? So much for hating Christians. Instead of speaking about Christ, freedom, and victories of different kinds, we're speaking about another threat to the foundation of America. These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. All communist countries attack religions violently. As you know, we recently struck Nigeria and largely ended the slaughter of their great Christian population. They know if they go further, the attack will be greater, and that they don't want to get involved. I'm saving Christians throughout the world, even though we're not in those various countries. By hitting these terrorists violently hard, they'll close your churches, they'll kill your people. This is what they're about. This is the greatest threat to our country since its founding 250 years ago. Isn't that fascinating? He compares the attack on Christianity to the end of our country. This is a man who gets it. This is a man who understands what powers America. It's not capitalism. That's part of it. It's not necessarily our freedoms. It's Christianity. You take out Christianity, you take out America. And as I've often said, the commies always go for Christians first. It happened in Russia, happened in China, happened in Spain. We have countless examples of this. Why? Because Christians choose their God first. They won't bow down to the government. Some will, but the majority won't. And the majority of Christians are dangerous. It's what led our revolution. We had the first Great Awakening right before the American Revolution. It's what got us to end slavery. We had our second great awakening right before Civil War, so on and so forth. We're experiencing a great awakening now. The commies are terrified of this. The globalists, City of London, they're terrified of that. They've always gone after faith and traditional values. This is why you erode those and you make people worship the state. The state becomes God. It becomes their religion. And that's what the commies want, because then you give your full faith to them and you're no longer independent. You become dependent on them, and then they take away all your rights and freedoms and ruin you. Trump, this post shows you he gets it. And this is right as we got a huge win this week, as the Texas board is now having Bible stories as required reading in schools. They join Oklahoma now, but this is the second biggest state in our nation doing this. This is huge. An absolutely massive win. We're getting back to our roots, which is why, timing-wise, it makes sense that the commies are starting to out themselves. Because, guys, there's more than an ideological battle going on here. There's more than a America versus the globalists battle, economic battles, whatever going on here. There's a spiritual battle going on, as there always is behind this stuff. And we are winning the spiritual battle, which is why they're getting more and more wrinkled. They're getting louder and louder. And they're exposing themselves. Now, Trump, on Friday, after posting that, gave a remarkable speech. And I want to go through some of the parts here because I think this speech is very important for where we're going, where we've been, and showing just how much we can trust Trump in all this. And I think we're heading into the great battle that fully ends all this, but I also don't think it's going to look like we expect it to. Watch.
Since 1776, America's story has been a tale of freedom, overcoming oppression, good defeating evil, and faith overcoming every challenge and every foe. We had everybody was winning, and we're going to continue stronger, maybe stronger. One generation, think of it, just one generation after our war of independence, the British tried, they really tried hard to conquer America in the War of 1812. That didn't work out too well. But they failed, and the cause of freedom won, and it continues to win. The War of Survival ultimately gave America our national anthem and our Star-Spangled Banner. Many Americans know the story of Francis Scott Key writing the words of the anthem and watched the flag under attack, and he wrote those beautiful words. But what few realize is that the very same poem also inspired our national motto. The fourth verse of the song ends in these words, and this be our motto, in God we trust. In God we trust. And as you know, the Democrats want to end that. They don't want the words, in God we trust. They want to have that stricken. They go to court. They take us to court. We're never changing that. We'll fight for that. We're not changing that. In God we trust. Better believe it.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal to have our president admitting that. In God we trust. He knows we can't do this without God on our side. We can't navigate all these impossible problems without something bigger. And he's declaring that right now, saying we're not going to change that as our nation. Do you notice he also, though, he called out the British, specifically brought up 1812. Interesting. When talking about communists, when talking about where we're headed, talking about the Democrats. It's all very interesting how he ties it all together, but here's more.
This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence, in my opinion, 250 years ago. This is a major threat to our country. It isn't something that's easily solved, but with a little love and help, some hard work. Because it's ironic, we're celebrating a very important birthday, our most important birthday so far, 250 years. And instead of speaking about Christ, and instead of speaking about freedom and victories of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America. These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. They're after Christianity more than any other religion. It seems to be more and more throughout the world. Maybe because we're doing so well. I don't know. Maybe if we weren't doing well. But you see the numbers, how they're growing, how the churches are filling up. It's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, look, it happens to be during my presidency, so I don't mind taking credit for it. I'm very proud. But a lot of great things are happening. All communist countries attack religions violently. It's part of their deal. As you know, we recently struck Nigeria and largely ended the slaughter of great Christian populations. They have a great Christian population. They were being butchered. Thousands and thousands of people were being killed. Children, women, old people, just being slaughtered, hatched to death. They know that if they go further, the attack will be far greater, and that they don't want to really get involved anymore so much. You know, we hit them very hard. We knocked out their leader. We knocked out their second leader and their third leader. Sounds a little bit like Iran, actually. That's all about a different cause that we have to do, because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Can't let it happen. So I'm saving Christians throughout the world, even though we are not in those various countries where you read about this. But they'd like to make our country just like those countries. That's where they started. They started right where we are right now. But I'm saving them by hitting these terrorists very violently and very hard. We're hitting them very hard by the greatest weapons on earth, taking them out. We know where they are. We hunt them down and we take them out. Think of it. They go into a village and they just kill everybody. It's like crazy. They will close your churches in this country. They go communist, and they're trying to. They will kill your people, and that's what they're about. They want to end religion. They have to end religion because their ideology doesn't work if you have strong religion. People like you that are so incredible and love our country so much and love God. This is the greatest threat to our country since its founding, in my opinion, 250 years ago, what's happening right now.
Think how powerful of a statement that is. And then he backs it all up with all the slaughters of Christians and stuff, which Trump has issued strikes into Nigeria. Some of their terrorist leaders were killed. We just killed an ISIS leader. I can't remember where that was, but this is still happening while Trump's dealing with Iran, while he's dealing with all these other stuff going on. He is making it better, even though there's still a lot to be fixed. However, what's really important is that it's a powerful message right there, telling us all Americans. Remember, Americans hate communism. I know that there's a lot of far left Democrats and stuff who don't, and but they still, most of them embrace socialism. Communism's still a bad word. So these people coming out and winning, being outright communists, Trump, it's given him the go-ahead. And now he's advancing this message. Communism goes for churches. Communism goes for Christians. He's energizing the base because now this threat is existential. Now this isn't just a regular midterms. It's an existential threat, the greatest threat to our nation. This is brilliant framing by Trump, but it's also true. And it's very refreshing to hear somebody call it out as it is, especially the leader of our nation. We've never seen something like this before, at least not since the 50s with the McCarthy era, which again, Trump was close to McCarthy's lawyer, Roy Cohn, who was very anti-communist, and Trump was mentored by that. But Trump continues pushing forward the faith talk. And this, to me, because of what I believe is really going on, actually matters just as much, if not more, than the calling out of communism, because it tells me that not only is Trump aligning himself with his base of Christians, but it also tells me that Trump gets it. He gets it. Because regular people who are just trying to manipulate people for votes, Christians for votes, they don't talk like this.
Americans have always deeply believed in the promise of Christ's words in the Gospel of Matthew, With God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible, right? All things. That's why as we prepared to enter the 250th year last month, tens of thousands of patriots came together on our National Mall, and we officially rededicated America as one nation under God. And we're not changing. We're not changing. And we always have been, and we always will be. We're not going to let them take it away.
This is why one of the reasons why I always say, as a person of faith, as a Christian, that there is no blackpilling. We can't blackpill, because he's absolutely right. With God, all things are possible. So no matter how crazy it gets, now I show the wins a lot, because it takes a lot to convince people, because they get so much of the bad news, or their emotions feel down, or their personal experience has been hard. It takes a lot to show them how we actually can win despite all odds. And so I focus on where we're winning almost all the time. I want to show people what's really happening in the world. There's always more good going on in the world than evil. There just is. But it also, wins beget momentum. The more you build up, the more you become positive that we can do more. And we are facing a monster enemy. We're facing an enemy that's controlled the world order, at least in our sphere, for decades, maybe longer. That has been taking control of our presidents, our politicians, our economy. It's just making things worse. It's been unwinding America as it was founded. Trump has been the pushback, the first major pushback we've had. We've had some smaller ones, but he's the first major one. And so many people before Trump and still now have convinced themselves that the problem's too big. But Trump's reminding us, with God, all things possible. And I love it, because, this is one of the most humble things you'll see from Trump, where he's making it about God, not himself. We don't always see that from Trump. And it tells me that Trump is growing in a way that's very important for where we want to go. Here's a couple more.
As we celebrate this anniversary, we must also remember that our country could have been marking this occasion under very different circumstances. The last administration carried out a reign of persecution and repression against Christians and people of faith like America has never seen before. It's terrible. They turned a nation founded on freedom for believers into a place where Catholics were targeted by the FBI, where pro-life grandmothers were put in jail for praying, and where members of our military were thrown out of the armed forces for their religious beliefs. The radicals responsible for these offenses would have loved nothing more than to mark America's 250th anniversary by driving God from our public square once and for all. They wanted to do that. I don't know how anybody could vote for these people. They were so bad, they were so evil, and yet in many ways incompetent, certainly incompetent on policy, open borders, transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, just grossly incompetent ideologies, and so many more. But they did not get that chance because they lost an election in a landslide, and we won an election in a landslide. And while I am in the White House, I will defend Christians and all Americans of faith 100%. You have it 100%, and you've seen it already.
That's just a declaration. I'm protecting you guys from the communists. I'll do whatever it takes. And again, that should just make you feel great, and we got a taste. The Biden administration was a perfect taste of what could come if we let it all take over. They went all out under Biden for a reason, because they didn't know if they'd get a chance to come back. They got Trump out for 4 years. And so what they did is they tried to accelerate to get back to where they were, because Trump had undone a lot in his first term. They accelerated, they exposed who they were. And now, a year and a half after Biden, we're getting people outright communists taking over the Democratic Party. This is all a good thing. The accelerationism blew up in their faces. And again, now Trump can make speeches like this, and it's not just, oh, what's he talking about? He can point exactly to it. And that is one of the reasons why he's so much more successful this term, and why it's only going to get better going forward. Here's how he ended it, or at least I'm going to end it. But I think this is so good.
Communism really is the past, and freedom is the future. That's what we are. All we want is freedom. Freedom gets you everything. Everyone needs to get out and vote in the midterms. We have to win this election. This election is very vital. If we don't, everything that we've gotten so much. I mean, religious liberty, but we've gotten so much. Our military is the strongest in the world. I built it during my first term, strongest in the world. And people respect us again. They respect us maybe like never before. We were laughed at a year and a half ago. We were laughed at. And now we're the most respected nation anywhere in the world. And in our 250th year, we will make our nation stronger and safer, better, more prosperous, and more faithful. Very important, more faithful than ever before. Communism.
Do you hear that? So first of all, this first phrase is just very important.
Communism really is the past, and freedom is the future.
There you go. He just tell you what's coming. Communism's the past. They're grasping to it. They're holding on. They're trying to make it back. But the future is freedom. I love that phrase right there. Again, that's Trump telling you what's coming. But then he ends with this.
And more faithful, very important, more faithful than ever before.
We're going to be more faithful as a nation than ever before. This tells you exactly what you need to know, guys. Trump gets it. You come to Jesus, you get the nation back on track. And listen, even if you're atheist, somebody watching this that doesn't have my beliefs, Jewish, whatever, you cannot deny that America is a better place when it's Christian-led. There's no denying it. We keep the order because Christians don't believe in persecuting you for your beliefs. We don't believe in murdering people, holding people to the sword to convert them. We don't believe any of that. So you're safe here. But we do believe in keeping children safe. We do believe in keeping families strong. We do believe in free economics. We do believe in the sanctity of life. We do believe that every life matters and is given by God. These are the ideals that keep a nation strong. We are the first true Christian nation in world history. We are not the last. We are the beginning. There are smaller nations that have tried to implement what we have and are having some success. They just haven't had our prosperity and growth yet. As America comes back, this is why there's been such an attack on us, because the spread of what we have is dangerous. It's the end for them because people want it. We're seeing right now all these foreigners coming here for the World Cup. They're seeing what we have and they want it. They cannot believe how amazing it is here. Well, as a Christian, I want to tell you guys, you're welcome. We built this society. Christians built this society. We built it off biblical principles. We built it. You're welcome. All of you. You're welcome for the greatest nation in history. And Trump just declared it. We are the greatest threat to communism. We are the greatest threat to every evil in the world. And it's only going to continue as we get better and better. And we will get better. I believe the Trump administration is ending the greatest threat to our nation, as he called it, communism, which is a globalist Davos playbook. And I'm telling you right now, as we end that, this thing that we have will spread. We will get stronger as a nation, and more nations will become like us because the people are going to demand it. We fix our home, and your guys' homes can get better. That's what we're looking at. That's what Trump's ending. And I believe very much so that God wants that. I believe God is on the side of this mission because God hates the suffering many people are going through. He wants it to end. He wants to give as much as he can. Now, people have to choose it. People have to fight for it. But it's possible. And Trump, why did God give us a crass man who's been divorced twice, who slept around, who did not live Christian at all for most of his life, who is blunt and mean and arrogant at times? Why did God give us him? Because the church, he knows how to fight, and the church doesn't. or at least it didn't. It forgot. Church people forgot how to fight. We forgot how to lead. We forgot how to inspire movements. And Trump was God's chosen vessel to bring all that back because we as a church were failing. Trump joined us now, but he's never stopped being Trump. And that's the most powerful combination, is all the best parts about Trump while also adding now the faith aspect, the humility aspect. And this is why we're going to win. As Trump did, I believe, especially after getting shot at, he humbled himself before God. And I have no doubts whatsoever that this man is on the side of what God's doing in history. I believe that 100%. And I believe it's why we're going to win overwhelmingly in many ways that people doubt still. After all this weekend, Dan Scavino posts this. Dan Scavino, comms man for Trump. Been with him since the first term. What do you see? A storm over our nation. A storm, but with the promise of life in the rainbows. I think Dan is telling us the storm is here and God's with us in it. And we're going to win. So that's what, going back to what Glenn Beck was saying earlier, that's what Trump means when he posted the communists making their move. I've been waiting, preparing for this. This is our time and we're going to win. Do not give up. Stay inspired, stay encouraged. God's on our side in this. And we have a wonderful, brilliant warrior leading the way. And this is why we're going to win and win. And honestly, guys, the best is truly yet to come. I believe that in every single fiber of my being. All right. Please hit that like, subscribe, guys. I appreciate you so much. Let's spend a little time in the chat and catch up with everybody. But please hit the like and subscribe. I appreciate you. Let's see here. I did see a couple super chats, so let me address those first. Ministry of Wrong Thing, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, sir. It says, left has been conducting a slow frog and boiling pot creep strategy for years. Trump has them freaking out, forcing them to accelerate their commie plans and open, exposing them. 100%. Thank you for supporting the channel, first of all, but I completely 100% agree with you. We were frogs in the boiling pot, and Trump exposed it all, and now we're waking up and getting out. Keith, thanks for the flow state. And Johnny Enosa, thank you for the $2 super chat. It says, thanks so much, Elon, for buying X. Yes, that's a major aspect of us getting free, is Trump as Elon buying X, sending information free. It was massive, absolutely massive. DJ says, maybe a MAGA socialist will be a thing in the future. AI will displace a lot of Americans. Maybe that's why tariffs were created to fund our new system. Maybe. I think the AI stuff's overblown. And there's actually several reports coming out now that that show that AI is not going to be able to be as powerful as they thought it was because the energy is so much more expensive and using it is so much more expensive. So I don't think we're going to get there. I don't. But will they try? Of course. One of the many for $20 super chat. Thank you so much, friend. Says, well said. Any thoughts on making trading available 24/7? Yes. 24/7 trading does help people who can manipulate the markets. There's no doubt about that because many people sleep and they can have their computers doing high frequency trading all day, every day. But it also is weakening the globalist side of things, especially when talking about the COMEX. I can't explain to you all the reasons, but Tom Luongo breaks it down wonderfully. So I recommend you go watch him and his chats with people on this subject. He did a couple 2-hour discussions, very deep diving on this on Tommy's podcast with another guy. I can't remember his name, but you'll see him. It's 2-hour discussions back to back about the Fed and monetary policy. And he breaks down why this can hurt them. And it's very interesting stuff. Excuse me. Let's see here. Oh my God. Who is this Joe guy just saying nonsense? What? Dude, Joe, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You have no idea what you're talking about. God bless you. Have a good day. I'm not going to be talking to you anymore. Your stuff is nonsense. Anybody who thinks Trump's a part of the deep state plan from the Freemason side of things is absolutely ridiculous. You have no idea. You're locked in on a narrative, and you're ignoring all the evidence to the contrary, which is massive. So sorry, but you're in full-on black pill, deep state, doomer theology mode. And honestly, I don't know how to help people like you when you're so married to this thing and you just don't know what you're talking about. New Life says, I hear Trump calling it communist, a corporatocracy was behind much of the nonsense of the Biden regime. I saw fascism. I see fascism. New Life, I'm going to strongly disagree with you. See, communism looks like fascism because it's authoritarian. And you're confusing authoritarianism with fascism. Fascism cannot operate without a massive push to patriotism. Fascism is authoritarianism and state control. So it's got socialist facets, but it's built around sovereignty and patriotism. And so, whereas communism breaks all that down and makes it just about the state itself. So if you think the Biden operation or any of these people are fascist, you're very wrong in that. They're fascist in their approaches, but it's authoritarianism. You're just confusing what authoritarianism is. Authoritarianism can be used by communists, socialists, dictators, fascists. And where is it? Authoritarianism? Yes. Was it fascist? No. Beretta says, even the false prophet churches are crumbling. Yes, that's very true. One of the reason is because God always judges his church first. He cleanses his church first so that it's pure, more pure. It's never perfect, but it's closer to pure for the new people coming in. Trump's building a new deep state. No, that's so stupid. Anybody who believes this has no idea what they're talking about. I'm a Mason. Are you kidding me, Joe? You're retarded. If that's all you got, dude, you have nothing to offer my channel. Bye-bye. I'm not going to have you spew that nonsense in here. I actually have led many people out of Masonry. And when I was listen, what Joe has no idea in his puny little brain and his propagandized little brain is that I worked in deliverance ministry for 10 years. I know how evil Masonry is, and I helped many people break the spiritual ties to Masonry that was impacting their life. I hate Freemasonry, and I've set many people free from it. Well, I've helped them set free. You can only free yourself, but you can be helped. And so for somebody like that to be on my channel is just nonsense. That's insane. Once the corporations join the fight, it's fascism. Not necessarily. No, that's not necessarily true, New Life. What you're talking about is corporatism, and the corporatists are just going to do whatever helps them over anything. Is it fascistic? Sure. But the system is not fascism. The system they're building is communism. That you're just looking at the corporatists taking advantage of something to help themselves out of greed. But the final system leads to communism. And that's what the system is. That's what the leaders are trying to get to. That's what Biden, the city of London, that's what they all want. They want communism. I don't think most Freemasons are evil. I think their system is evil, and a lot of them don't know it. But then the ones that get deeper and deeper in, then once they know it and they don't have an excuse, then that gets evil, yeah. Terry says, today's historic slaughter decision by the Supreme Court is the greatest increase in presidential power in the last 100 years. Yes, I covered that. Thank you, Terry. Fusion says, try being more open-minded. Not every Trump enemy is an enemy. Allies disguised as enemies have to exist. I'm open to that, DJ. But I also think that it's naive to think some of these people, I think that's kind of fairy tale thinking. Let me put it that way. Like believing that a lot of these people aren't enemies when they are, because there's some much, much deeper thing going on. The reason I believe this is because Trump came into the first term and weeded out a lot of those people going into the second term, which means that it's most likely many more people who are friendly are actually wolves in sheep's clothing versus the other way. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I don't think it's nearly as widespread as you believe. I just don't. Why did Trump hang out with Epstein for 15 years? You know what the better question is, Trumpedo 8647. I could tell you're a total Trump. No, you know what? I'm not. You're just writing nonsense. Total troll retard. The Epstein stuff is settled, man. Trump outed him. He's the reason he got outed. Everybody knew Epstein hung out with him. Trump's the only one who found out what Epstein was doing and left and called him out and led him to the police. So you're an absolute retard if you think there's still stuff for Trump in the Epstein files, and you're way retarded when you call yourself 8647 Trumpedo with a picture of Tyler Robinson. You're a faggot, dude. Get out of here. People like you are the worst people alive. Jay says the most confusing or hard to accept is Washington as a Freemason. Yeah, I tell you what. Again, not everybody who is a Freemason is evil. Okay, there are multiple levels to Freemasonry, and when you get in at the base level, they treat it like a Rotary Club. Most people who are Freemasons just think they're part of a club that's doing civil service. They are not evil. They don't know how bad it is. And I'm telling you that all, or nearly all, if not all, of the founding fathers who are Freemasons were not 33rd degree Masons. It's the whole guilt by association thing that's absolutely retarded. If you're a Mason, it does not mean you're evil. It doesn't mean you're bad. Most of them are good people who just want to do civil service and be part of a club. The people who go deeper and deeper and deeper, once you get into it and realize what it actually is, if you accept that and start making pledges and stuff to Freemasonry and all that, that's where it becomes evil. But the very basic level, those people are not evil. At least the vast majority of them are not. So that's an important distinction. And I think that's what happened with like Washington. I know Epstein was the original TDSer, which means if Trumpedo is still watching, hey buddy, you got more in common with Epstein than Trump does, because Epstein hated Trump more than anybody. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Hey, guess what, New Life? I've researched this for 2 decades too, and we're just going to agree to disagree. Sorry, buddy. Notice the fascists like Mussolini, Hitler. I'm losing track of the other one that was coming to my mind. The fascists of World War II were not looking to become a one world government. That's one of the big differences, buddy. And I'm sorry, fascism is about making your own country great in a very authoritarianism, socialist way. And but it's not about this interconnected globalist system. And that is the big difference that I'm not seeing you directly talk about. Fraternal orders like Masons, mostly shady intel networks. Yeah, there's a huge aspect of that for sure. But again, it's at the deeper levels. It's not at the beginning levels. DJ Fusion says, what if Erica was forced to forgive her husband's killer because Deep State knows forgiveness is Christian's greatest weakness? First of all, I don't agree with you at all with that narrative. There's no way that forgiveness is Christian's greatest weakness. Forgiveness is not weak. Forgiveness is power. It sets you free. But if you mean allowing, if you mean it's weak of a Christian to forgive, but then in their forgiveness not pursue justice, then yes, that's a weakness. But Erica's not doing that. Tyler Robinson is going for justice. So I fundamentally disagree with your framing there. There is literally zero weakness in Christian forgiveness. It's one of the most powerful things we have. Fart detonator. How do you perceive Freemasonry to be fundamentally evil? They advertise to be more of a fraternity. Fart, you need to, all I can tell you is you just need to research Freemasonry. You just need to research its roots, what they do at the deeper levels, their power structure. And also, I've seen so many people who are demonically oppressed because of Freemasonry. I'm talking hundreds of people who had links to Freemasonry. And in my deliverance ministry, once we identified it and got people to break those ties, they got freedom. So I'm just telling you from my own personal experience. It's not a weakness, though, DJ. You're just wrong about the weakness part. That's where I disagree with you. It's only a strength. Forgiveness, what Dan says, forgiveness is not allowing or condoning crime. That's right. Forgiveness says, I give up my hatred of you. I give up my need for revenge. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is saying, I recognize what you did is wrong. I'm going to pursue justice through a system of justice, and I'm going to let God determine the outcome. That's what forgiveness is. It's giving up your need for revenge. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not giving up justice. And so that's why there's no weakness in forgiveness. Forgiveness sets you free. And that's why I disagreed with your framing, DJ. I'm not saying you're bad or you're dumb or anything like that. I think that's a very wrong understanding of Christian forgiveness. Jay says it gets old. The middle of the road like to claim Trump is always showing his allegiance to some higher order when he's sitting in his chair making an upside down triangle. I know. It's so stupid. So stupid. Oh, it's funny. I think the public, listen, I'll just be honest with you guys. I thought Erica's public admonition and declaration of forgiveness was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm glad she did it. I think it was a wonderful thing to show Christians and America, like, who you are as a person, because it was very brave to do so. And she could have gone on angry. And honestly, I think it was a wonderful thing she did. iChief says, when am I going to become Catholic? Never. I'm never going to, my entire life, I will never convert to any, and I mean any, denomination of Christianity. I will always just say I'm a Christian. I believe the Bible is the Word of God. I believe Jesus is the Savior of the earth, and the only way of the Father is the Son of God, who died and rose for my sins. And that's all I need to become a Christian. I will never convert to a denomination, ever. I don't think Kirk's death was organized by the Trump administration at all. I sound more Catholic than Protestant. That's hilarious, because the only churches I've ever attended my whole life were Protestant. Well, Protestant or non-denominational. I was raised in a Protestant church. You're welcome, Fart. It's a weird thing to say, but that's your name. Yes, Nikki, I completely agree with you. We're not going to debate the whole Catholic Protestant thing here, Rebel Yell. There's no point in that. That's not what this channel's for. That's not what this channel's for. We need to unite about... listen, when everything's great and we have nothing left to argue about or fight over, then we can argue Catholic, Protestant again, okay? And I'll have arguments on both sides. But right now we need to focus on what unites us, which is a love for Jesus, a love for God, a love for traditional family, a love for traditional morals, a love for individualism and freedom and life. Let's focus on what unites us. Okay, let's do that, because we need to defeat a real enemy right now, not each other. There's no need for this whole Catholic Protestant thing. Okay, let's not do that. I don't want that in my chat. Let's focus on beating the real bad guys. Okay. Candace viewers. Anything to Hades drones flying around a CK assassination? I don't know. Most of the stuff around the Candace or the Charlie Kirk assassination is nonsense. The other stuff is that there is more to it, but it's honestly right now, I don't know how it's going to help us by going into it. Honestly. Yeah. The Golden Dome test went great. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. Yeah, listen, Catholics and Protestants agree on like 95% of stuff, okay? So let's stop focusing on the 5%. It's not worth it, okay? What did Paul write in Romans? He said, like, you don't need to follow all these rituals. You don't need to follow all these special days and festivals. You don't need to give up eating meat. Like he said, vegetarian is weakness. But he also said, but if you're convicted of that before God, then do it. He says, that's between you and God. We're not going to argue about it. So, I mean, DJ, that's fine. But okay, so if the deep state knows forgiveness is beautiful, can be weaponized? I mean, I don't understand how, but just tell me one thing that Erica's forgiveness of that guy did that was negative. One thing. I can't think of anything. Razor, I did go long today. It's okay. I'm almost at 3 hours. I'm about to play out though. Go rest my voice so it's even better tomorrow. Servers, I hear you, man, but that's just one area. See, don't lose the forest for the trees. You're focused on a tree, which is San Francisco. Yes, San Francisco's been getting worse, but the rest of the nation's getting better. So that's what you need to focus on, and maybe just move to a place you can win. San Francisco's going to be one of the last places it breaks, if it ever does. I think Birthright's going to be. We're going to lose. I've been expecting to lose Birthright for a long time. I really have. So, unfortunately. Well, the problem is that Paul knew Jesus a lot better than you do, and Paul knew the apostles of Jesus, but in person. And Peter wrote in a personal letter that Paul's writings are equivalent to Scripture. So if you don't live by Paul's teachings, you're not living by Scripture, which means you're not living by Jesus' teachings. I'm sorry. I hate the whole like I don't follow Jesus or I don't follow Paul. I follow Jesus. Peter, who knew Jesus better than anybody, said Paul's writings were Scripture. So. You take that up between you and God, but if you're ignoring Paul's teachings, you're ignoring God's words. I'm sorry. I didn't say that. The Apostle Peter said that. So there you go. Mr. Extol with the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. What are my thoughts on Orthodox Christianity? I think the Orthodox get a lot right. And I think they, I don't get the whole icon thing but theologically, I think they get a lot right. But again, we're talking about the 5% of stuff. I can pick out anybody and argue with them over 5%. I just, if you find Jesus in it, go for it. Go for it. Why should Christians have crashed out, DJ? So you're saying Christians should have gotten angrier than they did over Charlie, but didn't because Erica Kirk forgave him? I don't think that's logical at all. And I also think you're saying that Christians should not have done what God commands us to do. I don't understand that. I don't agree with that at all. San Francisco is beautiful. It's very sad. Threads of Harrow thinks we'll win Birthright. God, I hope you're right. I don't think we're going to, but that would be a huge win. Huge. Dude, for really, Paul told us to follow Christ. What are you talking about? Nobody here is following. Dude, this whole you don't know what you're talking about. You just don't understand scripture or theology at all, do you? The Christian theology. Nobody's serving Paul, are they? They're just listening to Paul about how to understand what Jesus taught us. That's all Paul wrote about. Here is what Jesus was saying. Here is what it means. That's what Paul's writings are. And I'm just it's insane to think that any of us are following Paul over Jesus. I'm sorry, bro. That's retarded. Your argument is absolutely crazy retarded. And if you think you can understand Jesus without Paul's writings, you think you can understand Jesus without the scriptures, that's a heresy. And that makes you a heretic. It means that you think you understand Jesus better than those who lived in the time of Jesus and were taught directly by Jesus or by the people who walked with Jesus. That is one of the most arrogant things anybody could ever say. I'm sorry. No, you don't take the narrow path. You take the wrong path, because by your logic, you're also saying the Gospels aren't scripture. Because how can you, if you can't trust Paul's writings, how can you trust the people who wrote the Gospels? That's arrogance, bro. You have a huge issue with arrogance, and you need to work it out. I think Erica is a good Christian person. I don't believe any of the nonsense about Erica Kirk. I really don't. What do you mean Christians aren't fighting back, brother? DJ, I just disagree with you so much. What do you think Trump is doing? What do you think we've been doing with our votes? What more do you want us to do? I don't understand. I'm so confused by your logic. I just don't understand what you're thinking. We are fighting back. If you're saying Christians are soft, well, yeah, I agree with you, but that's not Erica Kirk's fault. That's always been a problem. Most of Christians are soft in modern times because, believe it or not, femininity entered the church. Femininity entered the church and told us that men need to be nice. Men need to be nice, and we need to calm down, and we need to act more like women. We need to let go of our masculinity because it's not godly. It's too rough. It's too intense. It's not godly. So we were told that the only way to be a good Christian man is to be a feminine man, which is bullshit. And it pisses me off because there's been an attack on men in the church by mostly men who teach that nonsense. And it's weakened us extremely. And it pisses me off. Honestly, I feel like it's one of my great missions in life to help bring masculinity back to the church. I can't do it by myself, but we really need it. It's just like, last week I had a guy call me out, said, "You don't represent my faith. You're too mean. You're too offensive. You cuss too much." And no offense, but you know what I said in my heart? I said, "Fuck you, bro." I don't care. I lived that nice Christian life. And you know what it got me? It got me a miserable wife who almost left me because I wasn't a real man. It turned me into an angry father. It made me a man who couldn't be successful in my career. I was always obsessed over how hard my life was because I wasn't man enough to fight back. I had to discover masculinity to become a better Christian. And I'm sorry, but real masculinity is going to be offensive. It's going to be strong. It's going to fight. It's going to rub you the wrong way. It's going to call a spade, and it's not going to put up with nonsense. Okay? And if you have a problem with that as a Christian, I'm sorry. I'm not claiming to be perfect, but I am claiming to be a man after God's own heart. And we have to learn it. We all have to learn it. And you know what? Now that I'm not afraid to let it fly sometimes, now that I'm not afraid to be offensive, now that I have strong boundaries, now that I fight for myself and my family, guess what? I'm doing what I love to do and making a living off it. I'm not rich. In fact, there's stuff I want to do this next month. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. But I get to do what I love to do because I fought for it. I have a wonderful marriage that's about to cross 18 years. It's passionate. It's warm. She's my best friend. We got our marriage fixed, and it's better than 99% of marriages out there. I'm doing great with my kids. They're amazing. My friends and I are closer than we've ever been. Everything got better in my life when I leaned into the masculine and I stopped trying to be a nice Christian. And so that's, and I don't feel bad for it at all. I'm a moral man. I'm not a perfect man. And you know what? I'll get better as time goes on. And then maybe in 10 years, maybe in a year, who knows? I'll let God convict me though. I'm not listening to people who don't know me. Nobody who doesn't know me gets a say in my life. Like, I love you people. I really do, especially the members. Those of you I've gotten to know who have become a part of my life, I will listen to you. If you guys say, dude, you were totally a dick, I'll listen. But if some rando comes on here and tells me I'm not being a Christian, dude, I don't give a shit what that person thinks. Sorry, but I'm going to curse in this aspect because it requires it for emphasis. But we need to be masculine. Men need to be masculine. Women need to be feminine. And together, two become one. You can't be one by yourself. Two become one. Male, meet female, become one. And that is how you become a full human. I can't be like my wife. I don't want to be like my wife. She can't be like me. She doesn't want to be like me. Together, we are one, and we are excellent and great. And alone, we're still pretty great because we got Jesus. DJ, I'm not mad at you, bro. I just don't get your logic. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, DJ, and if you turn out right, I will be the first to tell you in front of the whole world you were right. I just don't think, I think you're thinking there's like deeper levels that are here that aren't here, in my opinion. But we'll find out. You guys going after the Niners again? Don't worry, I don't ban people for Niners talk. I just give them 5-minute timeouts if they're mean. MFN Tango says men are meant to be dangerous but used as good. Absolutely. You know, one of my favorite lines from C.S. Lewis, who's the greatest Christian theologian of the last 100 years. I think one of the greatest theologians ever. He said in Narnia, he said, Lucy, I think it's Lucy, is asking about Aslan, who's Jesus. And she asks and she says, is he a safe lion? And he goes, and the answer is, no, he's not safe, but he's good. And that is how Christian men are supposed to be. We're not supposed to be safe, but we can be good. And that's a masculine Christian man. And in my opinion, the vast majority of people in the Christian movement in America have been told that their masculinity, their danger is wrong. And they gave it up, and that's made us weak. Donald Trump is not safe, but he's good. And that's why I trust this man. I believe he's ordained by God. I don't idolize President Trump. I don't worship him. I know that God is ultimately the architect behind our future, behind where we're going. But I also recognize that God has anointed somebody as our leader. And because of that, I'm going to follow God's anointed and I'm going to fight to the bone for that. Because without Trump, we don't win. God has given us that leader. Would God cuss? I don't know. It's a good question. You know that what Jesus says is that sin is in the heart. So if I'm joking around with some friends and I use the F word to make emphasis on some funny, is that truly a sin? If it harms literally no one and makes us all laugh, is it a sin if I use it as emphasis to get a point across with there's no hate in my heart? See, because remember, every single culture has different curse words. You know, so if I'm in a different culture and ass is not a curse word, it just means donkey. Is that person sinning by saying ass? I think the word itself is not the danger. It's just like Jesus said, you know, about murder. He says, well, you murder in your heart when you hold hatred towards somebody. So I think what sin is much different than we think, except for the sin that can come against our own bodies, which is sexual sin. And that's remember when the Apostle Paul and it's Peter, James, and the Jerusalem Council, when deciding who should become, what they should tell the Gentiles to do, the only sin they told them to abstain from was sexual sin. They figured the rest would work itself out over time. Isn't that interesting? They told them don't eat like food sacrificed to idols and stuff like that so they could fit in with the Jews. But the only actual sin they told them stop doing immediately is sexual sin. They didn't say, everybody start cussing right now. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Sin has a lot more to do with, are we loving? Because stealing from somebody is always not love. Murdering somebody is always not love. Sexual sin is always not love because you're either doing it for your own pleasure, but you're also hurting your own body. So there's love. Christ said the greatest commandment I give you is this, is love one another as I've loved you. That tells you what sin is right there. What's not love? If I'm with my buddies and we're cussing, we're laughing, and we're having the best time of our lives and we're having a great time, is that sin? I don't think God's mad at that. I just don't, I think that we police too much when we should be more open as far as what does God really care about. He cares about justice. He cares about goodness, kindness. He cares about actually loving each other. He cares about protecting others. That's all way up here. And then if you cuss too much, that's like way down here. So why don't we focus on cleaning this up first? Let's see. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate you. Sierra says, hard part is being a godly woman. Many Christians tend not to want to follow that role. We tend to want to lead. Well, I'll tell you this, Sierra, you're right. But there's a lot of women leaders who are very strong in the church. What I'd say is sometimes it is harder as a woman to rise up. I'm not saying it's not. But what you do is you start where you can. So if God gives you 3 people to be leaders over that. Lead a Bible study. Maybe someday that turns into a home group. Maybe someday that turns into a class at church. Maybe someday that turns into something more. If you want to be a leader, start with where you're at. Don't complain and let God open the doors for you. That's what I say to anybody who has that issue, but especially women. What biblical personality is Trump most like? Oh, that's a good question. In the New Testament, Peter. In the Old Testament, David. I think that's it. Steve Young was not better than Montana at Pi Squared. Nice try. Young was more talented, but Montana was so much better in the when it mattered. That's whether your spouse is being that godly spouse or not doesn't mean we don't need to be. Yes, exactly. Well, the Bible says that the ungodly spouse will be saved by you being godly. So just remember, Sierra, every flaw in Christianity is not of God. It's mankind's flaw. Okay. And so everything we're dealing with is not God's fault. It's our fault. God is not at fault for anything bad in the world at all. He gave the world to us. It's ours to manage. It's ours to fight for. He partners with us when we're fighting for good, but he's not going to just take it over. He left it to us. It's our gift. And so we fight for it. So knowing that, are leadership structures in the church perfect? No. Why aren't they perfect? Because people are involved. And so there's no point complaining about it. It's just a reality. And so what do? We thank God for what he gives us, and we build from there. See, I believe complaint, grumbling, blackpilling, dooming, whatever you want to call it, God hates it. Going back to the Israelites in Egypt, they hate it. What does Paul say? He says, be thankful in everything, okay? And by prayer and petition, give your request before God. Be thankful in everything. In other words, no matter how bad life gets, find what's good and be thankful for that. I can guarantee you, every single person in this chat, there is somebody, no matter how hard your life is right now, you can look at somebody else and say, your life is worse. That person's life is worse. So be thankful your life isn't as bad as theirs. And start there. That might be all you got. Start with thankfulness. Start looking for solutions. Take responsibility and move forward. And God will bless that every single time. Every single time he'll bless it. And what's a because first of all, your mind will shift and that'll open up doors for you. But God can't work with complainers. He can't. He needs people to, because complainers don't think like God. And so if you're not thinking like God, God can't use you. If you're complaining, you're not aligned with God's thoughts. And so what can God do with you? All right. So you push forward, you be thankful, you focus on him, what's good is happening, and you work with what you can. And when you do that, God will come alongside you because now he can use you. Because if you're complaining and you're always miserable and you're focused on all the bad stuff all the time, well, God's like, I'm trying to give you answers, but you won't even hear them because God always starts small and works his way up. And so your mindset has to change first. D3, how fun was Colin Kaepernick? We're not going to talk about that. $5 super chat for Katie Cat. Oh, thank you, Katie Cat. You're awesome. You've been so good to me. Thank you. Best QB since the 80s to never win a Super Bowl. Man. Oh, it's definitely Marino. And then probably like Fouts and Phillip Rivers. That would be the big three. If someone says, oh my effing God, is that wrong? I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I would say that's probably first of all, if you're doing that, it's probably because you're complaining. So there, you'll start right there. But again, I think context matters. Context matters. Amen, Nikki. Life's hard for everybody. Nobody gets out. Dan says, gratitude never came easy for me. Gratitude doesn't come easy for any of us, Dan, because it's not in our nature. We have to learn it. So you start practicing. Make a list of all the good things in your life and start declaring them every day. God, I thank you for this. I thank you for this. And watch as the atmosphere shifts as you do that. Put it on your fridge. Make sure you spend 5 minutes doing it every day. DJ, I just disagree with you, man. But I'm done with that conversation. I would agree, Jay, that I don't think using the Lord's name in vain is good. Yeah, I never you know, I'm never for anybody using Jesus' name in vain. I'm less strict on the stuff with God, because God is not God's name. You can be saying God is a lowercase g, you know, and so it's different to me, depending on context, I should say. Foundation, I didn't say masculinity involves being profane. I didn't say that at all. I said it's being dangerous and offensive. So, and I'm sorry, you're wrong. Jesus was profane. What do you think he called the woman when he told her that, what did he say? When he equated her to a dog, he basically called her, the B word. He didn't say the exact curse word, but the equation is there. And profane doesn't mean using a curse word. Profane means being offensive. And Jesus was profane. He called the I'm not saying he was being profane as an attitude. I'm saying he used it in right context. He was very profane when he was calling out the Pharisees. You brood of vipers. That's calling them, that's a curse to them. So, this is what I mean, the safe Christianity stuff. It's like me calling somebody a retard. That's the same as Jesus calling him a fool. Jesus was profane, just not in the way you think. All right. That's why God's used Trump. Yeah. No, it has nothing to do with Trump not forgiving. Nice try, DJ. DJ, you're actually, I know you're being funny, but you're also walking on shaky ground here. Jesus says that if you don't forgive, he can't forgive you. So if you're living in unforgiveness, if you're holding on to anything without forgiveness, it means in that moment, you're living under God's judgment, which means God can't bless you. So I would strongly suggest forgiving at every aspect. I'm sorry. I think you're very wrong about this. I think you just don't understand the actual Christian doctrine on forgiveness and how important it actually is. Yeah, Jesus overturned the tables. He cursed the fig tree. I mean, Jesus was a tough MFer, guys. I'm sorry. He just was. He wasn't lewd. He wasn't lascivious. He wasn't, he wasn't, what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't debaucherous, but he had no problem being intense and offensive and profane. He didn't. He had no problems with any of that stuff. He had no problems calling a spade. He had no problem calling people to their face, like where they were actually at. He wasn't trying to be, and here's what really throws a lot of people for a wrench. That is kindness. Being intolerant is kindness. Tolerance is blasphemous. Tolerance is allowing people to live in their filth. It's not compassion. Tolerance is hatred. Sometimes the nicest thing you can do to somebody is be mean to them. Just the facts. Sometimes you just got to call them out. And sometimes people just can't wake up otherwise. I want to be a cowboy. That's not true at all. There's nothing in the Bible that says they only forgive when they ask for it. That's not true. There's a difference between forgiving. Jesus forgave the whole world, every single person, even those who haven't accepted it yet. Guess what? Jesus forgave them. They didn't accept it, but did Jesus wait for them to accept it, to forgive them? No. So, yeah, that's just bad theology, brother. I know what you're doing. You're taking that one verse, but that one verse is not theology. That one verse is contextual. That's all right, DJ. You got a lot of growing to do, brother, but I'm glad you're on the right side of things. You'll get there. You got to understand, I was raised in the church. I don't know anything but Christianity and Jesus. I was raised in the church. My father was a pastor, and I served in the church for 20 years. I was a pastor for 10 of those years, and I've studied the Bible deeply since I was 12 years old, so 30 years of Bible study. And I've studied it in Greek and Hebrew. I've studied in Israel. So yeah, you're a baby Christian. That's all right. No, I want to be a cowboy. It doesn't, because I think the problem is you're equating forgiveness with giving up the right to justice. That's two different things. Forgiveness does not mean you give up your right to justice. Forgiveness means you give up your right to revenge and hate. That's what forgiveness means. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate you, man. All right. Do I think Trump will call a national emergency and postpone midterms if SAVE Act doesn't pass? I don't know. But I do think anything's possible at this point. We could get into a really crazy... we could get into some really crazy stuff here, especially if they keep pushing. If they keep pushing, it could get wild. Let me just say that. So, yeah, we do need to forgive Biden, which means that we give up our right to judge him before God. That's forgiveness, okay? So God does not allow you to hate Biden for all the things he did. Yes, even trafficking children. You're not allowed to hate Biden for that. You can hate what he did, and you can demand he gets justice for it. You can demand that he gets exposed. You can expose him. You can say he did this. We want justice. We want to see. But ultimately, you have to give justice to God and the system. That's what God says. And just trust that no matter what, that one way or the other, he's going to get his. And it might not happen in this life. And that's the other thing. People have to understand that the ultimate judgment is after this life. Not everybody gets their full judgment in this life. And you have to accept that. And I'm sorry, it's not fair, but God never said it was going to be fair. He did say it would be just. Ministry of Wrong Things. How many of these theological arguments are real? Based on who's sending them, all of them. These are all people who have been in my chat a very long time. So, and who's trying to take me down? I'm done with the basic parts of my show. I'm not being distracted. I'm just giving extra time to the people. I don't know how that's bringing me down. I mean, if you think it's bringing me down, did I say something that's going to bring me down? Okay. I'm pretty confident in my beliefs, guys, so I don't think I'm like slipping up here. I'm not really worried about what I'm going to say. I don't make stuff up, so I don't have to worry about lying or being caught in a lie. Anyways, I do got to go, though, guys. This is 3.5 hours. Holy smokes. I got to get back to my wife, who's not feeling well, and, take care of my own voice. So, thank you, New Life. I appreciate that. All right. Well, I love you guys. I appreciate you. This is always kind of fun for me to talk about this stuff. But you guys are the best. We're all going to win. God's in control. Okay. He's not controlling everything, but ultimately he decides where the wind's going to blow. All right. And then he's going to let us choose if we accept it or not. So I love you guys. You're the absolute best. I pray you, have a blessed day. And let's pray real quick, and then we'll get out here. So, Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless these people here, Lord. I pray that everybody's healthy, including myself and my wife. God, I pray that you just bless my trip to D.C. this week with my kids. Bless anybody else who's traveling for the 4th. And Father, just bless our present. Pray that you give him wisdom and protection, Father. And God, that you do lead him to make this nation greater than ever before. In Jesus' name, amen. Love you guys. Have a blessed day. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Headlines screaming like a siren at night. Red and blue shouting, nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight. Matchsticks flicked in the dead of night. They sell fear, cheap package the lies, while the clock keeps ticking, empires on fire. Can't sit quiet while the world's on edge. Lines in the sand, standing on the ledge. No script, no leash, no polish, quiet. Just a voice in the dark and a spark to the wire. This is